another video. It's been a while since I uploaded on the React channel. I got like 3-4 videos that I haven't uploaded yet, cause why, I don't know. But we're gonna be checking out this video, what makes a real man, 50-man debate, middle ground, by Jubilee, right? Yeah. So let's see. I did record another video on this a while ago, but that video did end up pretty bad because my recording stopped, so I couldn't really upload it. Okay, I got no space. Had to double check. Let's go.
I've literally heard women say, I hate men.
Of course,
Literally.
absolutely. And
Death to the patriarchy.
a lot of these ideas of what you think misandry is are just your misogynistic instincts and assumptions being exposed.
Yeah, so now you're assuming that I'm misogynistic
I'm not
because
assuming.
yeah, you are.
I'm not assuming. That was not an assumption. I gave you a very clearly
You're
rhetorical
demonstrating
path.
it right now.
Really?
Yeah.
Really, I hate men. That's literally the
do you
definition.
think he's misogynistic?
Yeah, probably. I think we all are a little bit, some more than others. Yeah.
All right, it's 2025. Trump is president, and we're back with another Middle Ground XL. Behind me, I have 25 traditional men and 25 progressive men. We're gonna ask them some questions, and we're gonna see if they can find a middle ground. Our first question is, should it be socially acceptable for men to wear skirts?
I mean, it's weird, but you could wear whatever you want, because even Irish people wear kilts, right? So I don't think it just depends on what the skirt looks like, I guess. Because like I know Irish people like used to wear backpacks and skirts, right? I don't know what it's called. Is it skirts? I don't know, but I know Irish people had something to do with skirts. So I don't think it's the craziest thing. Will it look crazy? Yes, but yeah.
Come forward and find your speaker for this issue.
All right. Me personally, I like fashion. I tried to dress nice today.
You did dress nice today.
Thank you. I'm wearing a woman's sweater right now. This is from Brandy Melville. But background, in my culture,
Yeah, it's a
like I'm
kilt.
Native Hawaiian, men have traditionally worn skirts. We go back to other cultures, Japan, long gowns. Traditionally, men have been
Even in India, right? They got like them long, like it's not like a dress, but them long gowns. I don't know what they're called.
seen in history to be wearing
So
the
it's
same
not-
clothes
It's
that
not
women do now. And America
crazy.
is a much younger society than any of these cultures that have dated back thousands and thousands of years.
Okay, so first I'd like everyone to take a second and take a look at the fellas and what they're wearing over there. Let's be so real right now. How are they going to argue about what fashion? Yeah, about what fashion is supposed to mean in a manly sense or traditional sense?
It's the Scotland and in India, they wear dhotis. They're not wearing skirts because they think they're a woman. Here in America, that's the reason that they're wearing skirts, is because they are trying to project that they are a female or the opposite sex or gender fluidity or any of that. And it's just nonsense. No,
Again, it
absolutely
depends.
not.
It depends on your intention. It depends on your culture. If your intention is to be feminine, right? Obviously, it's not right.
Society to tell us what to do, bro, right? I thought we were all about like the government not interrupting.
When it comes to just masculinity in general, like I'm in the camp of you provide for your wife, you protect her, you should be a pillar. Any sign of like wearing a skirt or something like that, like obviously, bro, like it's not the move.
This is kind of representative of
I don't know. It still depends. I guess bro was right on it, depending on the intention behind you wearing it. I guess because a lot of other religions and whatnot wear what he said. Was it Adobe? But yeah,
a general idea of what a man is supposed to be in terms of how we dress, how we conduct ourselves in public. I think most men look at what a man is supposed to dress like and look
Well,
at
I
that and
wouldn't
see,
know.
well, now I have to justify the difference between that and me.
Clothing is not gendered. We make it gendered. Anything that we're wearing could be a woman's whatever. So we put titles on things, and I got a feeling nobody over there is gonna have any argument against any one of us.
The progressive men are going to say, it doesn't matter what you wear. You can wear any dress, you can wear a skirt, you can wear this. In the same vein, they would say it doesn't matter what language you speak. It doesn't
depends
matter
on
what
the
religion
skirt
you speak.
also.
And as traditional men, we disagree with that. We want to have a cohesive society that we speak similar things, we believe similar things, we have a sense of community in all of in the things that we wear.
I mean, it's also like I'm looking up skirts right now. The skirts that they show, right, are mostly like women's skirts, right? So it's like made for women. So it looks like girlish or whatnot. I don't know. It's like
What they're saying is actually the anti-social stance, where everybody does what they want and nobody has a sense of community. So we need to hit on that. Whoever speaks, not just about the skirt, because the skirt it's the detail, and that's unimportant.
We are rooted in some kind of greater faith that defines masculinity, the man as a role. He is under God, he is serving his family, and he is the creator of his society and the perpetuator of said values.
Yo, it's simple, bros. Skirts are for women.
We should also talk about, what does it look like if it's not socially acceptable? What does that mean? Point out how in practice, if it's not socially acceptable, that means we're shaming people, we're bullying people, we're excluding people, and I don't think anyone agrees that's a good thing.
Who wants to speak? Okay, then I feel comfortable. We have to take it a vote. We want to know who wants to talk. I mean, I will. Okay, all in favor? Juma?
Everyone for Riley. Who votes for Riley? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I think that's already a majority.
One and done, guys.
One and done. It is Riley.
All right, both sides have chosen their speakers, so let's bring forward Juma and Riley. Should it be socially acceptable for men to wear skirts? You've got 8 minutes to find a middle ground between the two of you. Go for it.
Well, I believe that men can wear whatever they want, and pertaining to skirts, particularly, I am a native Hawaiian person. Traditionally in the culture that goes further back than America itself, men wear skirts. Japan, men wear long gowns.
It's not called a skirt though, specifically.
I know,
it's
but
something else.
Again, it's just different
Like,
cultural
I'm Muslim,
norms.
I wear a thobe sometimes.
Yes, but it's
like some
cultural
cats in
norms.
the military. I've roomed with guys in the military, and they say like I had to shoot the dude in the dress. So it's like, nah, like, do I take it personal? No. That's just according to that group of people, that's what they call it, right? Like, I wouldn't call a kilt a skirt.
Okay.
No, that's a cultural symbol. What a skirt means in today's society is different. But go ahead, I'm sorry for cutting you off.
I mean, yeah, like I was saying, traditionally, cultures that go further back wear clothing only has the meaning that we set to it. So, if I someday decide that your skinnier pants are feminine because I got baggier pants, right?
Yeah.
Then I can do I get to ridicule you for that? Do I get to outcast you for that? That's just my question. Again, going back.
That makes sense.
So
why
what's
is
the
it
question
not?
you would like to ask me?
Why is it not socially acceptable?
What it represents is that's femininity, yo. Like there's no question about it. Like if you're a dude walking around in a black leather skirt, like you're saying a lot. Like Jaden Smith is one of them cats that was on Vogue. Like like we've seen what a skirt represents as a man. At least in North American culture and even some Asian cultures. Like I've been to South Korea. There are a lot of hyper feminine men out there. The only thing that I didn't see in South Korea was cats putting on makeup in the mirror. But for some reason, whenever I would go outside, I see hella cats wearing makeups, foundation, eyeliner, all that stuff.
So femininity is negative? And for men to express but is it okay to express feminine things? What do you think about my nail polish? What do you think about my skinny watch?
Me personally, bro, I ain't rocking like that.
Okay, that's cool. That's great. But I am. So is there anything wrong with that?
That's a feminine trait that maybe you want to exude about yourself.
Okay.
Now, like if we walk down the street, like I may interact with you a little bit differently just because like I see the fact that you're wearing nail polish.
What does that mean? Like,
well,
would you
generally, bro, like whenever cats are like wearing nail polish, they're a little bit more hyper feminine.
Okay.
They may try to hit on you or just other stuff in general.
Okay.
So it's like
so you're afraid. No,
I'm not afraid.
Even outward expression of femininity does not define sexuality. I mean, like there's a lot of straight guys out there, a lot of people who are in like emo punk scene wearing black nail polish for fun. People who wear lots of rings completely straight, and it
but
doesn't
it's
matter.
The representation though of what that
means.
What
does that mean? Though?
So like a guy wearing like he's obviously counterculture, right? Like if he's like the emo punk kind of guy. Also like borderline. Like
I was gonna say that's kind of different because if it's an emo border punk guy, you kind of know. Like, from the way he's dressed, though, right? I don't know. Because he'll be in all black. I don't know.
Devil worship at times.
Devil worship?
Yeah,
well,
like, nah. That can be clearly associated with a pentagram. A skirt isn't indicative of what a masculine man should represent in today's society. We got a lot of over-feminization of a lot of guys. Like, being a solid man that your wife can look to, or whoever that you're taking care of, can look to and be like, yo, that's my pillar. Like, if something going wrong in my life, they got me. And if you're walking around wearing a skirt, bro, like, okay, there might be cats that can walk around wear a skirt and they solid to the people that they can take care of, right? But the exception isn't the rule. Most cats walking around in a skirt, bro, they not super breaded up. They're just cats trying to express themselves sexually because they've given up on the financial part.
I mean, I feel like a lot of people who express like
it's
feminine
easier,
traits, like
it's easier to be broke.
Yeah,
I don't think you gotta give up on that
people who express feminine traits, you know, and have been, you know, in the media for wearing skirts. You know, Harry Styles is the biggest example.
Yeah,
you think he's not breaded up?
That's
you think
a
Young
whole
Thug is not breaded up? Like people like that.
Yeah, but at what cost though? Like now you're starting to tap into the fact of like, nah, like it's pretty obvious and it's out in the open now that a lot of these rappers, a lot of these cats grabbing ankles. These same dudes that wear skirts are the same ones that were popping up at the Diddy parties. They holding hands with Diddy, calling him daddy.
I mean, again,
Like,
this
come
kind
on.
of
That
goes
is
back to the
crazy.
argument that a lot of people try to push
that's
that
feminization.
that gay people are groomers and they're
then on
they're,
top of that, bro, like I get it, bro. Like I get like it's a cool piece of clothing. Like my pops, he owned a fashion label. He did it in the '90s where he exclusively designed women's clothing out of Egyptian silk. I totally get it. From a fashion perspective for a woman, like bro, it's amazing. Like bro, I think a woman looks good in a maxi skirt. But I'm saying I don't think a dude should be walking around rocking that.
And I guess my question to you to dig deeper is, should this be, you know, mandated? Should you, you know, bully people who are wearing skirts?
It shouldn't be open, common practice being taught to kids like, hey, bro, go to school wearing a skirt. Like, I'll tell you right now, like the time me growing up in East Oakland, you go to school wearing a skirt, it's gonna be rough for you.
I mean, I'm not going to
Like, it's gonna
disagree
be
with
real
you on
rough.
that, but we should break down that stigma of people having to be scared of what they
Not scared,
choose to
not
wear.
scared.
No, because if, like you said, I should be scared coming, you know, to where you're saying wearing a skirt or feminine attire or accessories or anything like that. So should people have to fear for self-expression?
So I'll explain to you this, right? Like I was a shooting specialist at Banana Republic for almost 2 years, right? And like, dude, like I see a whole bunch of cats walk in there, different arrays, different budgets, you know what I'm saying? And I'm helping them get to where they gotta get. More than likely, man, like the cats that I saw wearing skirts, man, those ain't the kind of guys that like, you know, the cat like me would wanna rock with. Like the cats that I rock with, they're solid through and through. Like I'm a business owner, I'm also a professional fighter. So it's like, nah, bro, like just that kind of energy, it's not conducive for me to be around because I need to cultivate a certain kind of mindset, a certain kind of atmosphere around myself in order to achieve what I believe is peak to what I need to be.
Okay, so Riley, based on kind of what you're hearing coming from Juma, what do you think is a middle ground statement that you think you could both agree on, or that you want him to agree on?
I would like for you to agree on that men should be able to express themselves. In fact, anybody should be able to express themselves however they want, skirt, nail polish, whatever, and that it should be.
We're focused on
Okay,
skirt, not
skirt.
the nail polish.
Men should be able to wear a skirt, and it can have a positive stigma around it if they so decide.
If culturally, they come from a culture. In Muslim tradition, right, there's this wrap that you can
no,
wrap
I'm not even
around
talking
your
about that.
waist. Some people would call that a skirt. So like that kind of cultural thing, no problem. But we're talking about North American problems. We're not talking about every other place.
So what's the middle ground that you think?
The middle ground
Riley?
is culturally, if that's where your family is from, rep where your family from. Rep your culture, rep your set, whatever it is, right? But you as a man, if that's something that you want to do, bro, by all means, bro. Just not that close to me, though. It's good.
Well, I disagree. I think that men should be able to express themselves however they want.
Bro, he's saying that low key though. The dude in red is saying you could do what you want, but just don't do it next to me. So he's not saying you can't do it. He's just saying don't do it next to me. Like I guess I don't know.
And that's it. I don't think
that is kind of the middle ground. They kind of did reach it though.
There should be any, especially clothes.
But what I'm hearing is, even if you don't agree that it should be, that you think it's socially acceptable, I have heard you say that men should be allowed to wear skirts if that's how they want it. You know, if that's what they want to do.
Yeah.
If that's what bro wants to do, by all means. But I'm saying from like a cultural, religious perspective, it's not conducive to what a good nation trying to bring stronger individuals into the world should be doing.
See, there's like there's a background to this. It's not because you just don't like the clothes, right? What do you think? Like, I don't understand that you think it makes someone less of a man, less masculine, and that in turn makes them weaker for wearing a skirt.
In North American culture, I do not believe that it's acceptable for a man to wear a skirt.
I feel like he's saying because like inherently a skirt in North American culture, right? I'm using his words, right? In like American culture is a skirt is seen as feminine, right? So if you see a guy wearing a skirt, then you automatically think he's more feminine leaning, which doesn't help that he's a man.
I'm not gonna find a middle ground in between on that.
I like to propose that it's okay for a man to wear whatever he chooses.
If that's what you believe, I respect you enough to agree with you on that part. But me personally, like you as an individual, if you want to do that, by all means, bruh. But nah, not for North American culture. It means something different here.
So is that you saying that that doesn't work as a middle ground statement?
No, we're not gonna find a middle ground.
Okay. I think we can leave it at that.
They kind
We
of
gave
did,
it a
but
good
they
try.
kind of did.
Shake hands and let's start.
I still respect you though. Handle your business.
We did not find a middle ground in that last prompt, but thank you to Juma and
They-
Riley
they
for giving it
kinda
a try.
did, but they
We're going to
kinda
move on
did,
to
yeah.
our next prompt, which is, does society need more trad wives or girl bosses?
How do I avoid girl bosses? I would say like in the middle, where it's like you don't need to be completely one way and you don't need to be completely the other. Just have like a good balance, and we're good. Like a wife that goes to work also, but also has her duties, and a guy has his duties in a relationship. It's fine. I feel like leaning completely towards one or the other is too much of one thing. It's like when you eat too much vegetables or eat too much of something good and it turns out it could be bad for you. So it's kind of like that.
Who can define these terms?
Too much of one thing is too much of the
house.
other.
She's
Or it's
independent,
not
bro.
as-
She's like, she's her own boss. You know, she don't need a man.
And the trad wife is what? Traditional.
It's like a woman who's like, I gotta cook and clean for my husband.
Girl boss doesn't necessarily mean going out and being a CEO or doing whatever. It's just an empowerment of doing what they want to do. Being able to choose that, you know, the best choice for that relationship is to stay at home and take care of a kid, whether that's the man or the woman or whoever in the partnership, or to go and work.
I don't care if she's traditional or trad. She's got to follow my program.
That's the same thing, bro. I don't care if she's traditional or trad. That's the same thing.
And my rule as a man. And what I'm saying is she can go and be a boss at the job, but when she comes home, she's going to take that shirt or hat off, and she's going to follow my lead and follow what I have to say, because I'm the man. She's got my name. She's got my ring.
I didn't see this comment right here that said the one that said the woman could go work all day, but the second she comes, she has to follow my rules. Was pretty scary. Like, yikes, dude. Only thing I'll say about that is, like, what are the rules? Like, what are these rules? Depending on the rules, bro. Because if the rules are outrageous, then sure. But if it's, like, simple rules, like, I don't know, like, we gotta be loving to each other. We can't be, like, can't bring combative attitudes. Like, both of us can't bring, like, outside negativity to our house, then I could agree with that. But let's see. Nutshell, progressive men believe everyone should be free to express themselves however they want. Bad men expect others to follow their lifestyle and live by their rules. Is that it? I guess.
She's under my roof.
It's all respect. No, yeah, of course. As far as the traditional wives, I mean, my wife kind of fits that mold. She does work from home, but I was in the military for over a decade, and so I was the sole provider, and she would stay at home and raise her kids, and that's just really worked for us. So I also have a 16-year-old daughter that I'm also raising to be a traditional wife.
It just depends
a show
on.
of hands of folks who think they're a good fit for this.
Like,
1, 2, 3.
A lot of
just
times, whether
a
a woman
balance
should be
of
a
everything.
stay-at-home wife or whether she can like work and do other things in society is kind of a cloaked sexist argument. And so I think that whether or not a man or a woman in a relationship, you know, who's the stay-at-home parent, who's working, should be a function of the individuals and should not be a function of us doing these, you know, gender role-based prescriptions.
I'm caught between him and him, but the most important question for me is, are you paying all the bills for your own?
The girl bosses have been detrimental to society, and how tradwives have actually helped build the family and through homemaking raise up the kids instead of them going out
to the public school system were being raised by strangers because the girl bosses were too busy working to care about their kids.
Traditional wives is outdated. We find that women who have leadership roles do have higher success, arguably, than men because they get people to work together better, I feel. Men, it's about competition. In like modern...
I always hear the opposite, actually. Not that women have with leadership roles have higher success, not that, but like whenever I always watch a video on TikTok, right, of somebody like talking about their experience working anywhere, it's always like, yeah, me and this girl never got along, and like it was always problems, and then I always had to walk on eggshells around all my female bosses, right, or all my female coworkers. This is coming from women, right, that I've seen talk about this. And then every time they're like, yeah, I went to a different job where it was just me and all guys. And like, we would have an argument on Monday. I would go home, be worried about it all throughout the week. And then I'll come back on Tuesday or Monday, right? I'll have a fight on Friday, worry about it all throughout the week or all throughout the weekend, come back on Monday, see the same dude, and we'll be all cool. And I was shocked by that. Like, I've seen videos of that happening, or of a girl saying that, and I don't know. It's always the opposite. It's like whenever it's like just a bunch of guys, it's like always not competitive. It's always like more chill. You could kind of get away with more, but when it's all girls, females, women, whatever, it would always end up like you got to walk on eggshells. You always got to be worried about this or that, and I don't know.
Society.
That's always
most
just what I've
physicians
heard.
are women. Most lawyers in America are women. The most educated people out of men and women are women. They attend school at higher rates. They graduate at higher rates.
The capability women have to raise children, the innate ability that my mother has, the connection she has with me, is something that is very important. And I feel like girl bosses lack that.
If you're gonna say that the woman's duty is to serve the man, say it just as much conviction that it's the man's job to serve the woman.
Isn't the question we need more trad wives versus girl boss? Like that's the question, right? And so like I would advocate for that. You know,
let's just vote.
Once again, I'm in the middle on this. It's like you need a balance of both, right? Because one of too much is unhealthy or not good for you, I guess. I don't know. Just a nice balance of both and you'll be fine.
I know Anthony. Short. Anthony. Raise your hand for Anthony. Steve, vote for Steve? 1, 2, 3.
I'm gonna vote for myself.
Well, all right. Well, I'm gonna assume everybody's voting for themselves. Votes for Jay. 1, 2, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, there we go. It's yours.
All right, both sides have chosen a speaker to debate this prompt. So let's bring forward Anthony and Greg. Greg, Anthony, the question was, does society need more trad wives, more girl bosses? I'll let you take it from here.
I definitely think that society needs more trad wives. Putting women in the workplace is actually a failed feminist movement, which minimized wages for men, and then it gave the government free control over.
From 1990 to 2020, men aged 49 through 50 experienced a decline in real median annual earnings, while earnings increased slightly for men aged 20 to 39. However, the Congress Low Research Service cited a declining real minimum wage, increasing annualization rates for slowing wage growth, not more women in the workforce. So older men get less, younger men get more, and it has nothing to do with women entering workplace.
The children.
Is that what it's saying?
Right to a public education system, and I think that that's also why we have.
First public schools in America were started by Puritans well before the country's founding. By 1870, 78% of children aged 5 through 14 were enrolled in public schools. Feminism wave didn't start until so you're saying that school and feminism have nothing to do with each other?
A lack of masculinity in society. So
Okay. Yeah, so there's 3 claims there. There was the government controlling the children.
That's not what I said.
And then the wages being stolen from men.
I didn't say it was stolen.
Oh, sorry. How did you phrase it?
No, you said it was like minimizing wages for men.
Minimize it. Okay, yeah, sorry. Causing an impact on men. And what was the first one?
It was moving women to the work.
Moving women, okay, yeah. So there is no statistically significant difference between
that men and women do have different cognitive abilities, but that doesn't mean sex is smarter than the other. Women have superior reading comprehension and writing ability, while men can better juggle items in working memory, along other differences.
in the cognitive abilities of men and women. You can obviously find an outlier study or two that says something else.
Sure.
And so
That's not what we're debating, though.
Well, no, but it's to, I'm building to my point.
Okay.
Yeah, so in that context, I think we should have a society that empowers men and women equally to pursue whatever works best for them and in their relationship. Like, for example, we have friends who are married, man and woman, and they are both in healthcare. And they both take turns working. Like, dad will work one day, mom will work the other day. And I think it's awesome if we have career opportunities. We have things like, affordable childcare, paid family leave, anything in society that supports people to make the decision that works best for their family, I think is positive. And I think if we had better options for people to pursue what works for them individually, we would have, as the prompt described it, more girl bosses.
But I think your argument is that
I don't know. I feel like girl bosses terms, like girl boss itself has like a negative term around it, so it would be better to like switch it up to something else. Because girl bosses, like the only thing I imagine is like do it myself. I don't need nothing from nobody. That type of attitude, right? When everybody needs somebody, right? So what was I going to say? I was going to say for a more healthy family, I feel like it's better for both adults of a child to be working, right? But like where one person takes a day, the other person takes a day, right? If they had a kid, that means like the kid is always spending quality time with both parents. Because like with the trad wife, right? It's always the wife is always taking care of the kid, has a connection with the kid, and then the dad is never there. So the kid has no connection with the dad, right? And then for girl bosses, they don't even got a kid. I don't even know if they're in a relationship or whatever. But I feel like the flip-flop between both is nice, but that wouldn't really be girl bosses, because girl bosses is I'll do it by myself, I don't need nobody. And trad wife is I'm a stay-at-home mom, I just take care of the kids in the house, and the husband does all the housework and then comes home, sleeps, eat, and then goes back to work, right? What he said is like the middle ground of those two, where they both take turns working and taking care of the kid. So
if only we were to put women in workplaces, which no one's debating that they shouldn't be. The question is not should we restrict women from doing it? It should be should we have more trad wives, right? And so my argument is that there are studies that show that having, and I can speak personally, I've been married for close to 20 years. I was in the military for a little bit over a decade. I worked, I provided. That's what
I don't know, bro. Like what I don't know which, like if I was there, I don't know which side I would be on. Because I would be in the middle on this, but yeah, because girl bosses leaves a bad taste in the air, and trad wives is like too restrictive or whatever. So I would be in the middle, but there is no middle.
That's worked for me. That's worked for my parents. That's worked for my grandparents. That's why we're traditional. We carry down these traditions from family to family, and so we see that our children are thriving. I see that my children have a mother at home that loves them and is able to be with them for their school events or for sporting, things like that. And it's worked for us. So, the question is,
does your child have a relationship with you? That's the question. That's the question this dude should ask next. How's your child's relationship with you? Not trying to get personal or whatever, but like, do you not feel like you also miss out on some stuff that you would like to be there for, especially since you're their dad or whatnot, with a trad wife? Because I feel like if I did have kids, I wouldn't want to miss out on everything, right? Just because of work, especially because of work. But yeah.
Do we need more girl bosses? Do we need more women away from their children? And I just don't think that's
that
what
goes
we need
both
more
ways, though.
So why? So
parents.
if the woman is away from, it's just one parent's at home and one parent's at work, right? That's kind of what we're describing. It's just. So what is the issue with a man being the stay-at-home parent?
Well, I just don't think that's the role of a man. I mean, and here's the reality. My wife and I both work from home. I'm on the field a lot because I'm an independent journalist, so I do travel a lot more for work.
Right.
But we both work from home, and that's actually great too. Because then I also get to partake in a lot of the things that we do. So if like my kid has a sporting event 2 p.m.,
Okay,
I'm not
so-
stuck in the office. I'm able to do that.
So he does have a good relationship with his kid.
But going back in where I was deployed for months at a time and having my wife stay at home, I think that it would have been detrimental that not only do my kids have a deployed parent, but they also have a mother that's stuck at work 8 to 5.
Well, definitely. I think that you're kind of. I think we're not necessarily
His situation is
what you're
different.
describing is, in your situation, it made the most sense to have your wife be a trad wife, right? I'm a millennial and I feel silly saying trad wife. It's not my verbiage. Yeah. Would you agree that it makes sense for us to have those cases where it might make more sense for there to be a girl boss to allowed to happen? Do you get what I'm trying to say?
Sure. Like I think what your argument is that we probably live in a society where women also have to work, and so what I'm saying is, yes, I have a personal bias of why my wife should stay at home, but also there's studies to show that women that tend to stay at home with children tend to have a happier family. They tend to be
Children of working mothers grow up just as happy.
Have less divorce rates, for example, as opposed to two people that are usually always at work and they rarely see each other, they rarely spend time with their kids. There's also some studies that show that kids do better in the long run when they have a parent that stays at home, for example.
What's interesting is regarding studies on stay-at-home parenting. On the census, an at-home dad is defined as somebody who has not been in the workforce and not made money over the past 52-week period, over the past year. And so when you look at studies of stay-at-home dads, you miss out on things like, as you mentioned, people who do remote work or people who work part-time. And so I'm not as confident as you are in the sort of evidence base for this claim that, stay-at-home dads are somehow detrimental compared to stay-at-home moms. I believe it was the American Psychological Association put out a statement on this where they said that as long as it's a stable, loving household, that's the most... that's kind of the highest bar you have. But so
I'm just gonna pause you because we're out of time. So I want to push you both towards offering a statement that you think both of you would agree on regarding trad wives and girl bosses.
Would you agree that in a circumstance where it makes the most sense for that family to have a girl boss, we should facilitate that?
It's just a term, girl boss.
I don't agree with that just because what you're almost claiming is that the family can only be successful if the woman is a girl boss.
Oh no, that's not what I meant to claim at all. I must have so I'm just trying to say, should we look at people as individuals and look at individual circumstances and then have people do what makes the most sense for their individual circumstances instead of making these broad kind of gender-based prescriptions where it's like, you're a woman, so you should do this, you are a man, or as you do in your own life. It sounds like your situation is not exactly a traditional situation because you are considering your personal circumstances, your personal strengths.
But also studies back that, right? So that's what I was saying, less divorce rates. And then if you want to get into like the intricacies, like, a family that goes to a church every single week has a 50% less chance of getting divorced, right? So it's just a little, I guess, difficult to come to the realization of like, it's only if a girl boss was there, right? Because I mean, there is that question after us. Should we have more girl bosses? Not should we allow women to work, which is, well, part of lawful, way of doing things. So I guess I'm just kind of having a hard time with that middle ground.
What would yours be?
I think the conversation I've had with a lot of people, progressive men, is that they think that traditional men are just strictly against women working, period. And that's just not my view. I think that the rights are there. My wife works, right? But she works from home, and it doesn't really interrupt the household,
I think I have an idea. So what about we should make it easier for a family to have a girl boss if that works good for the family? Does that make sense?
Or let's flip it and let's make society easier so that the male can work and provide for his family on just a sole income without having to put two working parents and seeing their children off.
You know what encompasses both of those?
Sure.
So what I'm hearing is that we both have different ideas about what works best for a family. So
say
maybe a
something, I
middle
forgot.
ground statement would be, we should structure society in terms of our policies, our safety nets, things like that. So whatever works best for a family is available to that family, whether that's a trad wife or a girl boss in the household.
Let me just let's empower families to.
Yeah, that makes sense. Bro, it's just the term girl bosses. That's why it's negative. If they changed it to like something else, I don't know what it would be, but like girl boss just sounds negative, bro. That's the only thing it is. Like change the word to that, like the word girl bosses to like a different word that kind of means the same thing, but like yeah,
do what's best for
Yeah,
them.
yeah.
It's a little soft. I think we need to address, like the role of women, which is what this prompt is saying.
I mean, hearing all 7 minutes of you, it's just, I wasn't convinced of like why we need girl bosses, right?
Right.
I listened to the
so
statistics.
that's why we
and
make
things that
individual
work, right?
decisions. I'm not convinced of anything about your life, but
Sure.
I think
Even
you
though
should-
studies show like it's better for the household.
So my opinion is that we should trust 2 adult people to make a decision about what
That's just very nuanced, though. So it can mean anything, right? Oh, we should allow 2 parents to just do drugs all day because it's better for them.
Okay.
You know?
So
It's just too nuanced. What I would say is we can live in a society where I guess, girl bosses can thrive legally and trad wives can also thrive legally. I just think a girl boss can already thrive. It's harder for a woman to become a trad wife than it is for a woman in today's
Well,
day
we
and
could
age
do both.
with the current policies to become a girl boss.
What is a version of it you would be able to agree with?
That we need more trad wives.
You're not giving us anything.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry.
I'm working pretty hard here.
I think we'll just have to. We didn't find a middle ground statement for this one.
Yeah. We didn't come to an agreement, but I like your facial hair.
Thank you. I like your groove.
All right, nice to meet you, man.
Very nice meeting you.
Yeah, and thanks for your service.
Yeah, of course.
Hey, before we go any further, we want to take a moment to say thanks so much to Straight Arrow News for powering the fact checks in this video. Straight Arrow News is an app and website that is on a mission to raise the bar on journalism in a time of media bias and mistrust. Their team of journalists believe that unbiased news should be the standard and not just the exception. So they report down the middle with facts, delivering news without bias, filter, or spin. Plus, their media mist tool allows you to discover news that's being underreported or not even reported at all by different sides of mainstream media. That's why we're so happy to be partnering with Straight Arrow News. The work they're doing gives us a complete picture of the news straight from our phones and tablets with their app. Go to san.com/middleground or click the link in the description to check it out. By clicking the link, you're not just supporting this channel, you're also supporting a group of journalists that are raising the bar on news and focusing on serving you unbiased straight facts. Thanks again to Straight Arrow News for partnering with us on this episode. Now let's get into it.
Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Anthony. We didn't find a middle ground in that question, but we're going to move on to our next question, which is, are depressed men weak?
I would definitely say that depressed men are weak. I was heavily depressed. I'm a cancer survivor. And with that came clinical depression, anxiety.
I would say no. I'll just say that shit happens, and because stuff happens, people react. It is what it is. I don't know.
Disorder. I gave up on life. I didn't want to live. And that's because I was weak. Coming out of that, I'm stronger than ever before.
Bless you for that, brother. You got through that. But what I'm saying is, ultimately, the depression part of it is a weak mindset.
Right, yeah.
So that is weak.
Like when your family member dies, like you
Yeah,
definitely have
you should
times,
be sad,
but like you
right.
shouldn't like label yourself as I'm a depressed person. It's
I wouldn't
like
say
I'm going
that's
through
weak, though.
like a sad state right now. Like it's tough times, but you gotta pull through it, and that's what we all agree on. Is that being strong means coming out of that,
Right.
And not like because like killing yourself is the weakest shit to do.
That type of sentiment saying that like men who have depression are weak leads to men killing themselves. So I want to push back against that. There are so many studies that show that men who hold those types of views are more than 2 times as likely to kill themselves. So I would
Yeah, that's weird. Depressed men are not weak. If shit happens, bro. Because shit happens, you react to something happening, and how you react to it is by getting sad or whatever and whatnot. So I don't know.
I mean, we'll give it. Well,
who else wants
options.
to?
Both sides will agree, yes, being depressed is weak, but they're gonna say it's okay to be weak. And I think that we should say it's not okay to be weak. Because as men,
it's not okay to stay weak. You could be weak for moments, right? Like, you'll have moments in your life when shit happens and you'll just feel like you can't do anything and nothing will change, right? It's okay to feel moments like that, but you shouldn't stay in those moments, and like, you shouldn't embrace those moments. You should probably try to break out of those moments, try to get out of those moments, but yeah.
and as a traditional man, it's our job to be strong even when we feel weak.
I don't agree with
that needs to be said. Anyway, I think
I don't agree with that at all. I am a gay man, and my experiences within the gay community.
Yo, on the traditional side, I am a gay man. What? Who said that? Who said what? What? This is a traditional side, though. What? You expect your husband to stay home? What? I'm dead.
And the depression that I've gone through is a completely different perspective from a straight perspective. But my ability to fight through that and to stand and the things that I've overcome have made me really strong.
I've struggled with depression myself. I have ADHD, I'm neurodivergent, and that does predispose you to depression, anxiety, and other things. Despite that, I don't feel weak. I was a former top cop. I was the youngest cop in my state. I teach women how to beat up dirtbag men. So I don't feel weak despite having those struggles with depression and anxiety.
It causes men to have this complex that if they aren't enough for their family, if they're not enough for themselves, then who are they going to be enough for? Why are they even here?
If you let your depression win, you're weak. So you could be depressed, but you still go through life. Like if you're just laying in bed all day, then yeah, I would say you're probably weak. But coming from like a biblical standpoint, it says that the righteous man falls 7 times, but he gets back up. You will fall, and so that's okay, but
that's
get back up. So yeah, that's what I would say.
Two different ways to argue this. I think that we have one who studied it, is very intellectual about it, and is very passionate about this case. And we have another study where this person is traditionally gone through a lot of masculine things, so showing their masculinity, and very much so gives that example of depression does not make you weak.
Chad, raise your hand. Oliver? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, sounds like we have a clear winner. All right. We're still working it out. We're so good at this. Thank you. If only we could win elections like this.
All right, both sides have selected their speakers, so let's bring forward Alex.
I guess that's what happened. What?
And Oliver.
What does that mean? Hold on.
All right, so the question is, are depressed men weak? I'm gonna let you guys see if you can come to a middle ground statement. You've got 8 minutes. Go for it.
I'll let you go.
Okay, sure, yeah. So, I'm coming from the perspective that I don't think that depressed men are weak. I think that depression is something that needs to be taken very seriously, and I think that statements like depressed men are weak are exactly the kind of rhetoric that perpetuates the problem, that leads to people being stuck, including myself, experienced with depression, being stuck in this type of rut that you can't get out of. And the moment that I kind of like acknowledged myself, what other people were telling me, but I was really like, oh my God, am I a weak man? Am I, somehow lacking in some sort of way? The moment I, put that aside and just was like, no, depression is a mental illness. Once I, got past that and, got the help that I needed, it was really the moment that I started to emerge from that. So I think that type of statement is part of the problem and something that I want to push back
Okay, against. but what you would say is staying in a state of depression, I would consider that weak, right? Depression in and of itself isn't weak, but when you label yourself as a depressed person, or you let that win you over, that is weakness.
So I would disagree because I think it's important to define problems as what they are. We don't solve cancer by not calling it cancer. We acknowledge that a problem exists, and how we respond to that is very important. But I don't think saying we shouldn't call people depressed because then they'll know that they're depressed or that they'll rot in that sort of state.
No.
That's not what he said, though.
But I'm saying, like, labeling yourself as a depressed person. Like, saying that is part of my identity. If an athlete is injured in that second, I think he's weaker than he normally is. That doesn't mean he's weak overall, but in that second, yeah.
Is it weak to say that he's injured? Is it weak for him to claim, I am currently injured. I want to get better, but I'm currently injured?
No, but he's weaker.
For sure, people are definitely in a weaker headspace. Right. But I think, and maybe I'm putting these like prescriptions onto this idea that aren't correct. So when I hear the claim men who are depressed are weak, I think of, oh, they're less manly. They need to get over it. They need to power through and grit, and it's I heard this from someone who was over there from your side. It's a weak mindset. It's a choice type of thing, and I reject that because it is a clinical diagnosis that people receive when they are depressed.
We all go through states of depression. I think no one here would argue that you're never going to be in a state of depression, right? Things happen where you do feel depressed.
There's depression and there's people who describe themselves as being depressed. I think it's important to separate those two because you can feel sad. Of course, everyone feels sad. Everyone has mood changes. Depression is clearly defined as persistent, like feeling bad regardless of the things that are going on in your life, even when things are going well.
Right, but I don't think the prompt was saying that depression makes you...
Is that what depressed is? Feeling bad even when stuff are going good? I don't know.
Less of a man, because I'm weaker, right? Sure. I'm in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
A squirrel could beat me in an arm wrestling match, right? I don't think anyone here would say I'm less of a man.
Sure.
Right?
Oh, and I'm glad that those connotations are not present.
Okay, cool,
in this
yeah.
conversation.
But my stance is you gotta keep on moving. Like you just have to, and you might have to take medication.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not against it. I'm pretty sure some people on my side are gonna be against taking medication. But
I'm glad they're not up here.
You have to do what you have to do. Right? But I feel like society most of the times is okay. They say that it's okay to rot in it.
I really don't think that's largely the case. I think it definitely is in some subsets of the internet that you'll find, but I think most people, I think the way we treat mental illness is it's really hard for us to grapple with it because it's not visual. There's this idea that when you break your arm, everyone comes to sign your cast. But when you say you're depressed, they don't know what to do and run the other direction. And I think it's really important to break that type of stigma that mental illness is a real thing. I'm not sure. I don't want to speculate. I'm sure there are some people who don't really think it's a real thing. Oh, you just need to get over yourself. You need to work harder. Back in my day, we just said that we were, sad and we pushed through.
Well, we see it in TV. So we see it all the time, all over the place where it's like, hey, I can't get up out of bed today. Oh, you know what? Mental health day. I don't disagree.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we are, as a society, letting that be a norm and letting that be okay, which I don't think it should be necessarily all the time. Because there's times where you have to get something done, and you can't just say like, hey, I'm gonna take a mental health day. Parents, I'm not a parent, but I'm pretty sure parents are here. They are depressed. They have to care for their kids.
Yes, and I think you and I would both agree that like, it's irresponsible if you're a parent or something of that nature to neglect your responsibilities because of mental illness. However, I do think it's very much the case that mental illness can be debilitating, can be crippling.
So weakness.
Yeah. Well, I guess fine.
Weak.
Okay, fine. Yeah, sure. Then you're defining weakness in such a way that it has no connotation behind it. If you want to say someone who is depressed is in a weaker mental state because they're not able to function as well, then I guess we agree. But that doesn't really get to any of the societal implications where there might be some disagreement between you and me as a
I think we've
traditional
done that, but I think
man.
we can agree that depression is weakness then.
Okay, so I would agree with your literal statement. The problem is there are a lot of connotations. When you say something's weak, it's like, oh, it should be looked down upon. That person is doing something that...
No, because I'm weak, so I don't want to be looked down upon.
I agree, and I'm very glad. But I think if someone were to like look at you, oh yeah, you're weak. That would be, but it wouldn't just be a literal factual statement about the nature of the world as it exists. It would be a normative judgment upon you as a person. In many cases, if someone calls disabled people weak, would you just be like, yeah, we are? Or would you be like, you're kind of an asshole, man?
It depends a lot on context. I agree with you, but
sure.
Well, then we would have to take everyone's opinion on it and stuff like that.
Just we're up on time, so I want to push you guys towards offering a middle ground statement.
Yeah.
And just to reiterate the question, it was, are depressed men weak?
I'll let you.
Sure. So here's, I guess, and this is why I would say I don't want to use the word weak. The use of the word men in the phrase makes it very gendered. If it was just are depressed people weak, then maybe I'd give a little more credence to this idea that we're just talking about descriptively what is factually the case. But I think when you insert men in there, there's this idea that depressed men are weak because men shouldn't be weak. Men shouldn't be burdened by their emotions or burdened by illness of the mind. It's just, something they have to power through. So because of that, here's the middle ground that I guess I would propose to you, and you're welcome to respond to me on this. Depression does not inherently make someone weak. Men are not inherently weak because they're depressed. However, if you let that consume you entirely and you shackle other responsibilities or you claim that you have no responsibility for your own mental illness, oh yeah, I'm mentally ill, therefore I can tweet anti-Semitic things all over the internet. I'm not talking about anyone in particular.
That's real.
But, so sorry about that. But regardless, so That's kind of the middle ground I would propose. I don't know if that's too long, but
Okay, can we agree on the middle ground that if you're a man and you allow your depression to win you over, then you're weak?
I allow you to win you over. I think there's a lot of different things that are going on there. I also would kind of want to, if possible, degender that idea. If anyone,
We're on a gendered episode.
well, we are. You're
But,
right. You're right. You're right that we
So-
are. You are correct that we are. However, I think it is true because men exist, and because men exist, women also exist. Women don't just not exist because we all happen to be in a room with.
Yeah,
very
but
few
we're
of them.
not talking about women in this instance.
I don't think that's necessarily the case because we live in a society that is inherently gendered. So,
No, I agree with you.
Okay.
But this episode.
Of
Okay, so Alex, what would your statement be if you want to give us a draft?
A middle ground, I would say, if you succumb to your depression, then you are weak. If you allow your depression to take over your life and you don't seek help and you kind of just use it as an excuse for your life or for your poor choices, and I would say that's weak.
And I have one more question for you. A lot of men who succumb to their depression are ones who end up with a bullet in their head. Are they
Yes.
weak in your mind?
I would say so, yes.
You'd say they're weak. Men who
Yes.
kill themselves because of their depression are weak.
Yes.
And I think that exact idea is what leads more men to kill themselves.
Well, okay, so I don't, there's a strong
It's true.
disagreement there, and there's a lot to discuss there. But let's try and make our way back to what do you think is something that he would agree on? So he said, letting depression take over your life is not a good solution. So, do you have like a counter?
Do you think it makes I'm just curious, do you think it makes a man weak to seek medical remedies or to seek out treatment in
No,
that way?
I'm in a wheelchair right now. I have to see a doctor every 3
Sure.
months. So.
Okay. I'm glad to hear it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no.
Okay.
If the pills are helping you in that, then yeah, go for it. If you need to get out of the woods, seek Christ, whatever it is that you need to do.
Okay.
do that.
Yeah, and I don't think I really disagree with any part of that.
Okay, so it sounds like we're landing on if a man is depressed, he should seek treatment.
Yes.
Yeah.
Men who are depressed should seek treatment.
Men should seek treatment.
Awesome.
All right.
Thank you to Alex and Oliver. We did come to a middle ground statement for that last prompt. Moving on to our next prompt. Should men spend their time watching porn? All right, let's get you guys up in the center.
I mean, here and there is whatever, but if you let it consume your life, like anything good or bad for you, then
It's an unhealthy practice, and
if you can't control
as someone
yourself,
who's a healthy human being and can make observations with his eyes, understands that this is not neurologically beneficial. So maybe I don't even know why it's political. I think everyone's going to agree on this.
So I think the worst part about it is breaking down the relationship between men and women, making sex something that is cheap and carnal and not something that's spiritual and deep and something that exists on a higher level than just physical. That's the other thing. I think that they'll probably argue that it's just sex and it's just, it's just ejaculating. It's just something that you do. It's something primal. We just do it. But it's not.
Who on the progressive side is leaning, thinks that porn is a negative?
Yeah, I think it's not a good
It depends on the individual. And then who thinks it's a positive?
Go with my hands up.
Okay, so there's actually a little bit of a split here. I don't think it.
I feel like it's only a negative when you become addicted to it. I don't know.
It's either one.
Yeah, like it's one of those things where it's like it is a form of expression if the two people are consenting adults that are being paid in a healthy, appropriate environment. Go ahead, make all the porn you want. In a grander sense, it's a moral panic that men are constantly obsessed with pornography. There's a small segment of the male population that has that problem, like any other small segment of the population that's addicted to something. This is a larger extent of the moral panic of men losing their quote-unquote masculinity. It's a non-subject. Some people are going to watch porn. They will be corrected by their friends and family as they move through society and see.
Shouldn't watch it, but it shouldn't be illegal too.
Okay,
Who said that? No.
That's not the
Who said anything about it?
that's not the problem.
If you're spending all your time not working, not actually being with your kids, you're just watching porn, you're
That's
kind
addiction.
of a piece of garbage dad, right?
Porn is
That's an addiction.
anathema to actual tradition. You can't be a traditional man if you are watching porn. Porn also just poisons the soul of a man, and it's just absolutely degenerate. It has no place in society. There's no benefit to it.
It projects a fantasy onto women. I think there's unrealistic expectations. Men are not going to get the right idea of how sex should be done, consent. Lou.
Where we're going to disagree and where we're going to clash is that they want to ban it, and I am going to stand by us and our First Amendment rights to allow pornography.
All right, Brian.
John.
What would you say in the argument that they're going to present probably, which is it's not hurting anyone, it's only for my good, and it's only to the people who are going to actually speak?
We all agree that we live in a spiritual world. There's a spiritual reality. It degrades women. It degrades men. It's degrading to everybody. It does perpetuate violence. So it is damaging people. I would never buy that argument, right?
All right, raise your hand for Ben. All right, both sides have chosen their speakers for this question, so let's bring forward Ben and John.
Hi, Ben.
What's up?
Buddy, how are you?
Please go ahead, because I have a feeling that you know where we all stand on this one. So
I don't think anyone should be watching pornography. Yeah, look, I don't think you should mandate what people are watching. That said, if it is two individuals that are both consenting, that are well paid, that feel completely comfortable participating in the filming of sex in exchange for money, then please have at it, as long as it falls under the definition of pornography as set by the Supreme Court of the United States. By definition, it is, by the way, something that you see and know that it is porn. So if we're saying that, yes, porn should exist, I don't think you should watch it because it is incredibly bad for you, in the same way that you really shouldn't drink alcohol, or you shouldn't smoke pot, or you shouldn't smoke cigarettes, or you shouldn't eat fried food. All of those things are also very bad for you, both on a cognitive level and also spiritually.
well, so I think you're agreeing with me. Ultimately, you're saying men shouldn't be spending their time watching porn.
Absolutely.
But you don't think that it should be illegal, right?
No, we have the First Amendment.
And while I might think that maybe it should be, right, that's not what I'm going to argue here. I'll argue that porn is destructive to men and women.
Completely
it's destructive to anybody involved in the sphere. What other things could be doing as a man? Hang on.
Okay, great.
What other things could you be doing as a man that porn takes away from? You could be working. You could be taking care of your kids.
I'm curious about this. How long do they think they watch it for? Because I feel like what they're describing is like an addiction to porn, where you can't do nothing else but watch it, right? But if you take like 5 minutes, watch it, do your thing, and then you're done. You're saying that 5 minutes I could have been working when that's really just me using the bathroom for 5 minutes. I don't know, like, what do they? I feel like they're talking about the addiction portion of it, and not the like, oh, I spent 5 minutes watching, 10 minutes watching, and then I'm done. I don't know.
I think every man's goal should be to create a productive relationship with his wife so that he can have a productive relationship with his children and a stable family unit. Porn completely gets in the way of all of that.
I completely agree. Porn does get in the way of interpersonal relationships. That's it. Just wanted to call you up and not to be a prick, but I'm going to be a prick. You said porn is harmful to everyone involved. How is porn?
I mean the people involved in the actual action of either the doing the sex or the watching it.
So you're against sex work? That should be illegal.
Sure.
You're against the filming of it, all that sort of stuff. You're against.
Yeah, I mean, look at what it
so
does.
You're against the Supreme Court's interpretation of the First Amendment. Just to be clear, that's correct.
Well, I'm against certain types of speech. I mean, the Supreme Court also said you can't say certain things.
But the Supreme Court has actually weighed in on this issue, and the Supreme Court says porn is a legitimate expression of speech. Partake in it whether or not you want to.
The Supreme Court gets stuff wrong all the time, doesn't it?
I completely
There was a
agree.
time when they said, hey, black people not very important, right?
Totally.
And so we can agree that they're not always right. I think you and I can agree that porn's not the kind of thing that people should be spending their time in.
I completely agree.
Millions and millions of men are spending their time in it, and we see what happens from it. It creates an economy where women are being exploited, right?
In certain cases, yes.
I mean, if you can make money from it, okay, cool. But you know how many women are like, well, I could just make a quick buck on OnlyFans, so I might as well do it. They don't want to be doing it, most of them.
I agree. Some of the people involved in OnlyFans do not want to participate. Let's use the example of Andrew Tate and all of his webcam girls. Those webcam girls were not participating for their will. They were captured in some way. They were ensnared by the lover boy model. So that type of porn, very, very bad. But someone in their bedroom, as a consenting adult, selling images of themselves is totally fine and is protected under the First Amendment. But again, brother, I don't understand what your point is. You're going, porn is stopping us hanging out with our wives. That is a fault of the man not turning the computer off and going and spending time with his wife because he's addicted.
I would agree, it is
shouldn't
a
he be
fault
given-
of the man.
They're saying addiction. They're talking about the addiction portion once again, bro. Like, the addiction portion is different from I watch it every now and then, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and then I'm done. for like a week, for like 2 weeks, for whatever amount of time, right? Which is weird. That's all that they're talking about. Like, I gotta watch it. Like, I spend hours watching it. Like, I can't stop watching it. I can't not put it down. I can't not, like, right? Which,
as well, but a man can engage in something.
I think they're always
wrong
talking
while
about the
it being
experience.
his fault to engage in that, but also the thing he does was wrong.
I want to, if you're comfortable, like, do any of you want to speak from personal experience if it's informed your views on porn?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think most men have had experience with porn, right? And it's not something that you're gonna go shouting that you're happy about. Hang on,
No,
you're
no,
gonna go around. Okay, we can probably agree on that, right? I would say that many men, I think the average age now for kids getting engaged in porn is like 9 or 10. It's extremely young, right? They get hooked at that young age.
90% of boys and 60% of girls report being exposed to internet pornography before they turn 18. Age is 12. Really, I don't know what age I was. I was probably way younger than 12.
And then all of a sudden it blows up. I've had experiences in relationships when I've watched porn. I've had experiences in relationships where I haven't. And I'm married now and I don't do that anymore. And it's dramatically a better experience for myself and my wife. Right?
I completely agree with you that it's better when you're not doing when you're not doing it than when you are watching porno. It's better for you because of all of those. The false perception of reality that porn offers is very unhealthy to human beings. You would agree, and I would
That's
also.
one of them.
I
Yeah, I mean,
completely
there's like
also agree. By the way,
billion.
that is yeah.
There's a lot more
Listen, we can
problems.
broaden this out and
Yeah,
get
yeah.
crazy. You know what I mean?
Let's workshop what's a sentence as brief as possible that you want to offer as the middle ground.
Okay, I would say porn is not the kind of thing that's conducive to a healthy relationship or a healthy life in general. And that while it is legal across states, we should do what we can to minimize illegal activity on the sites themselves and also engagement for minors.
I completely agree with everything Ben has said. Not only am I in the middle ground, give me a corncob pint and a buckle shoe. I'm a trad male, boys.
What the hell? Okay, then imagine you need to sign in, verify your age for porn. That would be hilarious.
Who found John?
I completely agree with everything you're saying. It is bad for you. It is bad for relationships. It's bad for women, and it's bad for men. It needs to be protected against kids. Kids should also be educated as to that porn is a fantasy, that it isn't real. That is not what a man looks like. That's not like a woman looks like. If you get into a van in Miami, that is not going to be the result. If you order a pizza, nothing like that is going to happen. And to that, I would say we need more education about sex. We need more education about our bodies, and we need more education about social media and the internet. So when a 9 or a 10-year-old is presented with a webpage that says, don't click on this, they go, oh, this is something I'm not supposed to look at. And that goes to parenting. So I think we, in a macro sense, absolutely agree. But those are all details to the main meme of, I think porn should be available. I don't think anyone should watch it.
So the middle ground is no men should not be spending their time watching porn.
I hope you're all sitting down. I also agree. No, men should not spend their time watching porn.
Awesome. Okay.
Well done. That was so fun.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you, John. We were able to come to a middle ground on the last prompt. Our next prompt, should men be the leader in romantic relationships?
Naturally, we as men are actually the leaders. We do a better job of just like providing security, providing in general. And then when I seen the inverse of that, it doesn't really go well. Women they're not naturally leaders, and that's completely fine. They're more submissive and we're more dominant. We just make better choices.
I mean, that's like also scientifically proven what you just said. Men produce less oxytocin and the love hormone, right? It allows people to be more empathetic, and men sit more in that more dominant role in terms of that leadership.
It's equal. The way that we kind of have marriages in our society now is that it's a partnership, and maybe sometimes what that looks like is that one of them does take a lead on certain things, whereas the other one's taking the lead on others. And you can have that balance, and I'm sure that there's some decisions that one partner is more qualified to, have expertise in, and that's going to go both ways.
Being able to share leadership and not leadership, it doesn't have any impact on masculinity. It does empowering women to take lead does not make you less masculine.
We're talking about romance. So we're looking at the divorce and women cheating. We got to look at why they're doing it, because a lot of men don't have what we call the game. They don't know how to just be romantic. It's not about just romance. It's about listening. It's about being sensual, sexual, romantic, kinky, dirty, listening, connecting, going deep in the mind.
As a man, you should have the ability to be able to cultivate your woman, that's sexually, mentally, and spiritually. And for me, like, if you're able to do all three of those things, you good.
I used to be a gigolo. I used to fuck with women that knew
Yeah, that's
Bro, what the fuck? Yo, what the fuck? Bro made everybody there uncomfortable.
Good.
I used to be a gigolo. I used to fuck with women that knew
Yeah, bro.
That's different. That's different. So,
bro got everybody uncomfortable.
in order to be your job as a man is to be the leader in your relationship. You need to provide, maintain, and take care of your woman.
I'm a child of divorce, first off. So my mom, yeah, that's why we're depressed. I grew up largely with my mom. My mom took on both roles. She took on, the leadership role, and I was with my dad on the weekends. He provided what he could provide with the short time I had with him.
I think that women are just happier in male-dominated relationships. Like, they just prefer to be just taken care of and nurture the children and everyone. And like, when we see that different power dynamic...
What you just said is really problematic. You go, they want this, women want this.
And you're... No, I'm saying, no, but statistically we see the divorce rates between, male and female couples where the female is like, earning more, is the breadwinner.
Here's the thing, man, like, I have had to go to therapy because I am just a very unsympathetic person. My wife's like, you don't show a lot of affection, you don't show a lot of, you were talking about kind of like, you got to be kinky and stuff like that. I necessarily don't agree with that, but right, I don't think it needed to go there, but I think it is important to understand that that's what romance is, and so who's going to be the better situated to talk about that?
We're all focusing on sex when it's not about sex.
Why are you seated? Because it's just too many people. Too many people, yeah.
That, and it's like, it goes hard, weird, trash. Honestly, I was joking one day. I was like, maybe I should have brought a blue shirt. Like,
well, can you speak to that a little bit, where you're just feeling like misaligned?
I'm not in a relationship right now, guys, but the two I've been in, both times I was whipped. The relationship did work out for as long as...
Excuse me, buddy, what'd you say? I'm dead.
They lasted because I did not take the lead in the role. I let the two women I've been with take the lead. I'm divorced, yes, but it was just because of the circumstances. Yes, she had to move because of a job, and I couldn't go with her.
I think it's important that we state that the order of God in Christianity is God over Christ, Christ and man, man over woman, and this is vaguely in Islam. There is something similar in other religions.
Well, it says, "Let us make men."
It is important that we stick to this. Once we deviate from this,
let's just focus on the argument.
I think it depends on what we mean by the term lead, because I think some of us are having this idea of just like control or whatever, like women are supposed to submit, and just like, and I would agree with that statement, but I also think it depends on a man who leads like servant-hearted. Like I would argue like a biblical man who he's self-sacrificing, puts the needs of his wife above his own.
The fact of the matter is, in romantic connections with women, there's going to be times that I'm going to need to tell you no, and I'm going to need to control situations that you feel otherwise
Situations, not her.
Yeah, if you want to go to Walmart at 2 a.m. in the morning because it's 24 hours and you think you're going to be safe, you're not going. So at the end of the day, we as men have to say, oh, you know what?
I'll be right back. I need to get some water. I'll be like 2 minutes, not 2 minutes, like 30 seconds, and I'm not cutting this out. Okay, I'm back. I had to get water, freeze water, put water. Yeah, I gotta edit that out because it was like 5 minutes really.
I understand that, but you're not going, and this is the reason why. And guess what? I'll go because I'm your protector. That's leadership. What I'm saying is these guys are going to play you and going to be like, oh, well, why can't they? You know, it doesn't have a study of showing women can't lead just as well as men.
How the fuck would I go to Walmart at 4 in the morning? Unless it's like something you really, really need right now. That shit can wait, bro.
What they're going to say.
I think the idea of one gender being the only thing that can lead a relationship is just ridiculous. Like, let's be realistic about it. Marriage is considered a partnership. Like, you call it a union, yet you're saying that one person has to lead is ridiculous. You work together. Some person's stronger in other aspects, the other person's stronger in the others. You find a partner that you love, a partner that makes you happy, and you two choose to do what makes you happy together. Maybe you find a submissive woman and a dominant man. Great. Maybe you find a submissive man and a dominant woman. Maybe you find two people who are dominant together, submissive together. It doesn't matter. It's about individual happiness. It's about how effective you are in your own life to give yourself happiness.
We have less than 30 seconds. I think he has a wife. I think that I have a wife.
Yo. No, and our
I got a wife.
No, dude, because I can
Who cares if you got a wife?
I got them on the middle ground.
He got the most votes. He got the most votes.
Nate, raise your hands for Nate.
I'm dead.
You got, it's 1, 2. All right, thank you. Kino? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, I think we have. Let's go. Our winner.
Okay, our two
turning
sides
on
have
each other.
chosen their speakers. I sense a lot more tension on this side than typically, but you guys have chosen Nils and Kino. Should men be the leader of romantic relationships? Gonna let you guys debate that for 8 minutes, and let's see if we can find a middle ground.
I think men should be the leader in romantic relationships. I mean, I'm married. For 8 months, so I'm not quite big experience, but I think thank you, I appreciate that. But I think the whole idea of men taking the lead in relationships, men should be pursuing virtues. And I think a lot of the things that men are biologically, psychologically, and societally wired to do are things that are more like leadership oriented. So like risk taking, being able to stand up for the common good, doing all these different types of things. And so I think that applies to a romantic relationship because there are going to be instances where a man has to step in and take control and say no and lead, protect, provide, and maintain. And I think those are innate things that we have as masculine men. The other side, I think women tend to feel more protected, and I think that's something that they want. Like they want to be led. They want to have a man who loves them more than they love themselves. You know, the biblical view is like you should love your wife as Christ loved the church, and so you give your life for that person. So I think that kind of takes precedent.
Okay, well, I see that when you're talking about these things, you're talking about generally, you're talking about for your personal life. This is how you've experienced it. This is what you view for women and what you view for men. I would say that I don't think that really applies when you're talking about the reality that we live in, which is that everybody is different. You can look at any different person, and every person has different thoughts, different ways of living, different ways of reacting, right? So even if you're a masculine man, maybe you just are lazy, right? Maybe you don't want to take a lead in your relationship. Maybe you like a partner who goes ahead and does their things for you, and you partner with them. That's the idea of the unionship, right? Is that you're a partnership, and that you're supposed to work together. So when we're talking about men assuming these roles, I agree with you said about societally wiring these men and wiring women to feel a certain way. I don't think they're wired that way. I think that they've been reprogrammed that way through movies, through television, through the way that the patriarchal society has existed throughout time. And we're talking about women never being able to work, never being able to vote. Like this is all stuff that is very, very new to the world in general. So when we're talking about women being able to do these masculine things, it's not that they don't have the ability to or that they don't have the desire to. It's that they'd never had the opportunity before, and we're trying to get there. We're trying to slowly but surely progress so that way men and women have equal opportunities to do whatever they want. Not be handed a Barbie and not be handed a G.I. Joe, but when you're a child, be able to grab whatever toy you want and have fun and and live your life that exact same way as you get older.
So I brought up the points of being, psychologically wired, biologically wired, and you completely disregarded those two and went straight to the sociological. There are studies that show that men, we just actually have more testosterone. That
After puberty, men produce 20 times more testosterone than women, according to NIH. While gender is a hierarchy status cue, there are many features, including attractiveness, age, behavioral, social, and reputational characteristics that factor in.
That's just the way it is. And psychologically, where we are just more wired to be in a hierarchical situations, and that requires leadership because the person at the top is the one making the decisions. I'll put it this way: I think men have a strong, soft side, and I think women have a soft, strong side. And what I mean by that is men are supposed to take these things of leadership, but we're also supposed to have empathy. We're also supposed to, I would probably disagree with some of these guys about like men not being able to like share their emotions. I know it is virtuous to show courage, but a deficiency in courage would be something like you're a coward. And whereas on the other side, you have an excess of that, which would be recklessness. And I think a man leading in a virtuous state provides the most stable home to raise children, to do all these different types of things.
So what do you mean by
Hopefully you
virtuous?
guys don't
Like
hear the
courage,
shaking.
temperance,
I need my
fortitude, all
lemonade.
these different types of things. We have this like Andrew Tate, like hyper toxic masculinity that I would absolutely reject. But then on the other side, we also have this rapid evolving femininity that's happening. And I'm saying the virtuous path is
That's the
often
only
in the
reason I
middle.
remember her name.
If we shift a little bit from
That's her name, right?
kind of this higher level, can you guys speak from personal experiences as to why, have your personal relationships informed your stance on this and why you would make that argument?
Yeah, I mean, I'm stupid. I think a lot of
I'm stupid too, my friend.
Exactly.
We're all stupid.
That's not a great way to start an argument.
I think it's the perfect way to start it, John, because I think you're stupid too, John.
That's crazy.
Let's be real. All of us are stupid at one thing or another. Maybe we make mistakes. Maybe we choose to do something that we're just bad at, or maybe we choose to do something we think we're gonna be good, or we think it's the right decision and it's not. So, for example, I'm not a mechanic. If my girlfriend comes to me to try and figure out how to fix a car, I'll make an attempt with her, but it doesn't mean that I know what best to do. So I'm just gonna go in there with a wrench. The idea is that we try and figure out the best solution together, right?
Sure.
If we're trying to make sure that we're doing the best things together. It's not that simple as just, I lead because I, have a thing.
Sure.
Talking from personal experience, the idea of working together and being a partnership is an incredibly important thing. And I think that goes above just needing to lead, regardless if you're the woman, the man, or you're in a gay relationship, whatever it may be. The idea is that you are in your partnership and you should be working together. And I think that maybe even your religion would say the same thing.
I mean, I agree with most of what you said, but I think at the end of the day, like there are going to be certain decisions that need to be made, and I think the men have the most capable instinct in knowing that. And granted, they very well could be wrong. So going back to the idea of speaking from personal experience, I mean, my wife and I's marriage functions in a very traditional sense. Like, I'm the head of the house. When important decisions come to make, I consult my wife. I really much value her insight, and I really care about her and like what she wants. If it functions where the man lays down his life for his wife, he leads his wife, he puts her needs above his, and the wife submits to the man's leadership, I think that leads to a flourishing relationship. And I'm not saying submit blindly to this controlling man. I'm just saying, no, like she should submit. I mean, but the man should also be loving her more than he loves himself. So I view it as like a partnership, like you're saying. But at the end of the day, there is a clear, distinct biological, psychological, and you could argue social. How do you say that word? Societal. Sorry, societal impression on romantic relationships, and I'm speaking about marriage in general. But I would obviously, even before we were married, we kind of had that figured out.
Okay, so we're out of time for the debating. I want you each to take a swing at what's a middle ground statement you think you would both agree with after hearing each other.
Okay. So I believe that my middle ground statement would come from the idea of the betterment of your life for you, your wife, your husband, your child, whoever is in your vicinity. If you are working towards making sure that you have the best thing in that life, regardless of if you're the leader or not. So regardless of if the man is the leader or not, as long as the relationship and the family is progressing forward healthily, then that's all that matters.
I think I would put forth something like this. It is a good thing if a man and wife, or whatever insert romantic relationship, both pursue a virtuous life that will lead to both of them flourishing.
Kind of the same thing.
Do either of you disagree with each other?
I feel like we're saying the same thing, we're just using different words, if I'm not mistaken.
I think it would be preferable for your middle ground statement to,
whatever
talk
benefits
about
the
men
family.
or leadership. Right. Ideally, both.
Sure. Okay. How about this? The most flourishing that a relationship could get comes from a man who leads his wife in love.
Oh, no. I mean, again, I'm not saying that doesn't exist. Obviously, there's plenty of examples of existing, but I think that a happy relationship could exist without a happy relationship could exist without a man at all. But I feel like we're there. I feel like we can do this. Okay. So I believe that a man does not have to be the leader to get a happy relationship.
Well, I do think a man should lead, but I think what we mean by lead might be different.
Okay, let me see if I can give you something. So if we do a man and a woman working in partnership is more important than who is leading them.
Oh, I wouldn't say more important.
Because think about it this way. I'm going to give you my example. Is that if a man is leading, but they're a terrible leader. I mean, I'm sure you've met men that suck as leaders, right?
Yep,
If you have a man is leading, it can get real rough. So if you have a man that's leading, but they're a terrible leader, and the wife is submitting, but it's a terrible leader, so they go somewhere terrible. You don't want that, right? You prefer it, even if they're not leading, if their wife is keeping them in check, if the husband's keeping her in check, they're working together. That's more important than a man leading, right?
I think I would agree with that. The only exception would be if the man is truly leading the relationship down a horrible place, and the wife just has to submit there and follow along as they both spiral. So how can we rephrase that to include that?
We got this.
Bro.
Let's just take a second.
Are we?
Yes, because we got the idea wrong. All we're trying to do is phrase it, okay? So
let's give it one more try.
All right, let's do this. Okay.
As long as a man that the wife chooses to follow is leading them down the right path. Where was I going with it? Shit, I wanted to add on. I had it, but I lost it.
You take a second to think. I'm gonna take a second to think.
I will.
Yeah, I think as long as a man that the woman chooses to follow is leading them in the right direction for the benefit of their family, then he should be the leader, I guess. I don't know.
What about the man should be the leader if that makes sense for the
Every single prompt is making the other person concede on their point, and so I feel like we've spent like 15 minutes on each prompt trying to reach a middle ground when we said we don't need to reach a middle ground, but necessarily to reach a middle ground on these things, it would need for one of them to concede a point.
No, I think I agree with you. I don't think we're gonna get past this one.
If I have to give the point that in some certain relationships, if the man isn't doing his job, like I can see that it might be okay for a woman to step into that role, at least for a time.
As long as the man is fulfilling his responsibility as a good leader and the wife chooses to follow for the benefit, I don't know.
Yeah. So I get what you mean. I think you're thinking about it more broadly, but we're talking about the man has failed. Mm-hmm. It's good for the woman to step up. Mm-hmm. So I think that we're good with that. Yeah?
Sure. Yeah.
All right, let's do it. So if a man is failing in his leadership role, then a woman should be able to step up.
Yeah, I agree with that. A woman should be able to step up if her man is failing as a leader.
All right.
All right. Appreciate you, man.
That's not bad, girl. I'm dead.
Thank you to Nils and to Kino for that very strained but miraculous middle ground. The whole point of this is it is kind of an impossible task, but I do think it is interesting to find where people will concede. And that is kind of what society does, is agree over things that seem impossible to agree on. So let's move into our next one. Is misandry more allowed than misogyny?
Misandry is a hate. Okay, I was going to look this up. Hatred, dislike, or mistrust of men. Misandry, hatred, dislike, or mistrust of women are more allowed. I would say yes. It is more allowed. Should it be? No, because they're both stupid, right? Unless you got a very specific reason, like you were born and then your father hated you, all the people in your life, all the male in your life disappointed you, then maybe, or you were born, all the women in your life hated you, some shit like that, like the extreme side of it, then nah. But if it's like, oh, I asked this girl to go out with me, she don't like me, now I hate every woman in the world, that's stupid. But I say it is more allowed though, honestly. Like, I haven't seen, I don't know, maybe it's just because it's my my algorithm, right? But whenever I use apps, I've never seen just like, oh, I hate women content, right? I've also never fully seen I hate men content, but I do see it a lot more than I straight up hate women content. I don't know.
Choose your speakers.
I just think with the prom saying that it's like more permissible, like how many times have we seen like I hate men, men are trash online, and then if you were to say anything remotely like that, you would get flamed into eternity, right?
I think it's really important to look at how we're defining permitted. Because permitted legally and in corners of the internet that no one wants to go to are so different. Just because some woman on the internet is screaming, oh my god, I hate men, men should burn, men are trash, and her comments are lighting her up, does not mean that that's how society operates. A majority of the time, misogyny is so much more permitted within society because it is such a systemic issue. There is not a systemic hatred of men in society. It's just, it doesn't exist. Misogyny gets women killed, okay? Misandry makes men have hurt feelings sometimes.
We know that misandry is
women doesn't exist. Misogyny gets women.
Misogyny, the hate of women, gets women killed. That's it. I don't know because I've never seen any crime happen because maybe there is, but I haven't seen it. I haven't seen like, oh, this dude wanted to shot up a Starbucks because he hates women. Or this dude killed somebody because he hates women. It'll be like he hates that one person. I don't know. I'll have to disagree or not agree with that last statement.
Okay? Misandry makes men have hurt feelings sometimes.
I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
We know that.
I feel like for him, like he went on the extreme of one side and then go for the extreme on the other side. Like he went misogyny extreme and then he went misandry not extreme, when if you really want to do that, go extreme on both sides and they would both get people killed, right? Right, that's how that would work. But he went like extreme on this side and then like middle ground on this side with like feelings hurt and whatnot.
Misandry is more permissible because have you ever heard of like toxic womanhood? No, but you hear of toxic masculinity. You hear people arguing against just being masculine itself. They treat it like it's a problem, like our very identity and part of who we are is a problem. That never happens with women. It just doesn't.
I think misogyny has a much different historical and sociological context than misandry, which is the hate for men, especially because this has become such a thing that's been developed recently as a counter to feminism rather than actually speaking about things that men are actually dealing with.
Another idea that came about in the 20th century where women, women got educated and they developed this adversarial relationship with men where it used to work in tandem, right? The order, the man leading his household. We all kind of agreed with that. Some of us who come from Christian and Muslim backgrounds agreed with that, and some of us who didn't agree with that. When that was disrupted, women started trying to compete with men. They said, well, why is he above me now? I feel bad. They started getting fed all this stuff. Then it caused competition in the workplace.
And white women started competing with white men.
I didn't go there, but you're right.
And when Sojourner Truth came in and started speaking about women's rights, she was abruptly told that she needs to leave.
Whoever's going to do it, let's get to middle ground.
Finding middle ground is going to be difficult, though. Men do get demonized a lot, and I understand why. The fact that they're still on Andrew Tate and he's popular, that's a problem. But
then there's also a Drew, and she's popular. Even though I don't watch her, there's a Drew on the women's side. So I don't get it. You can't really say that because that's not a good argument. There's extremes on both sides, and they're both popular for being extreme on their side.
The fact that they're still on Andrew Tate and he's popular, that's a problem. But at the same time, I think misogyny is an even bigger problem.
Votes for Abram? Okay, remind everybody your name.
I mean, he said the same thing twice, though. So, hold on.
Misogyny isn't even bigger and he's popular. That's a problem. But at the same time,
wouldn't you be like, but at the same time, misandry is also not a good thing? But he says like, there's Andrew Tate, which isn't good, but at the same time, misogyny is also not good. He said the same thing twice, right? Or am I tripping? I'm pretty sure this dude said the same thing twice while not saying anything about this side. I don't know. Because honestly, there's people on both sides of this where they're both popular. So
I think misogyny is an even bigger problem.
Votes for Abram? Okay, remind everybody your name. And then if you
not a single person voted.
Oliver has it. Appreciate it.
There was a point in the past where misogyny was more rampant, right? But I think we've actually flipped now. Third wave feminism.
They have parades in the street
This is why we got.
celebrating their
This is
hatred
why
of
we got to.
men.
This is why we got to
Men
get to the
don't do
middle
that.
ground. We got to get to the middle ground because of that, though. We have to get to the middle ground.
So I think the
because
middle
we
ground
have
could
to
be,
discuss it.
yeah, I think the middle ground could be that
Misandry
both
and
have been
misogyny are
problems
historically
in this country.
Raise your hands if you want Mike to speak on this issue. I see one. What's
Ryan.
your name? Ryan. Raise your hands if you want Ryan. I'm seeing the most. I'm seeing 4. All right, so the two groups have chosen Ryan and Oliver.
We did
This
see that
is
little clip at the
misandry
beginning,
more
so-
allowed than misogyny.
Yeah, I would say absolutely it is. I mean, we hear this term toxic masculinity used. Have we ever heard the term toxic femininity? No, we don't. But there are some women that have behaviors that I would say are toxic. We were talking earlier about false rape accusations. Yeah, that
National Sex Violence Resource Center found the rate of false reporting to be between 2 and 10%. The only thing I'll say about this, right, is that if it's real, take that nigga to jail, lock him up, do whatever you gotta do, right? But if it's false, the other person who made up a false thing should also suffer the consequences. I just feel like that just makes sense. Because, like, having just one person, like, you could just throw that out there and it could ruin somebody's life. But, like, if it happened to you and you're 100% sure, right? You got evidence, you don't, and, like, 100% happened and you throw it out there. You're not throwing it out there to ruin his life. You're throwing it out there because you're a victim and you're trying to bring him to justice, right? But if you don't, like, so, what was I trying to say, bro? Like, if you're throwing it out there, you're throwing it out there to get justice, right? But some people would just throw it out there to, I don't know. Yeah.
does happen, and that would be a toxic trait coming from them. And it's just a lot of the plights of men are often just discounted because they're men. We are told inherently that who we are is toxic by that term toxic masculinity in and of itself.
So I would disagree a little bit. I think first it's really important when we're having a conversation about masculinity at all to define what we mean by masculinity. So I think a lot of the times when people are attacking toxic masculinity, as a man, I don't view it as an attack on me because they, in my view, are attacking traits such as like over-aggression. These traits such as suppressing your emotions to the point at which you can't function, or to the point at which like you are not able to communicate with your partner in a healthy manner. Demonizing gay men or other men as not real men because they don't live the same lifestyle as you. There's a lot of different things like that. So when people talk about toxic masculinity, I don't see that as a form of misandry. I see them calling out types of behaviors that are harmful to everyone, including men. So any woman or any person who calls out toxic masculinity, I view as an advocate and ally of men and not someone who hates them.
Hold on, go back real quick.
Is not real, such as suppressing your emotions to the point at which you can't function, or to the point at which like you are not able to communicate with your partner in a healthy manner. Demonizing gay men or other men as not real men because they don't live the same lifestyle as you. There's a lot of different things like that. So when people talk about toxic
Okay, I was gonna say something, but it would have ended up me being dumb. It was gonna be like something along the
masculinity, I don't see that as a form of misandry. I see them calling out types of behaviors that are harmful to everyone, including men. So any woman or any person who calls out...
Right, what I was going to say was like, why would you categorize those stuff as just masculine stuff, though? Which would have sounded dumb, but yeah. Like, keeping in your emotions, like, anybody could hold in their emotions until they blow up. It's not just a man thing. It'll most likely happen to a man, right? Because he's been taught to keep in his emotions, right? But a woman can also just keep in her emotions until she blows up. So I was going to be like, why just generalize it to a masculine thing and why make that like toxic
masculinity? I view as an advocate and ally of men and not someone who hates them.
But why not just call out the negative behavior itself?
Because there is a type of behavior that is exemplified and takes it to an unhealthy level. You should not become like never talk about your emotions so much so that you become a raging mess and take out your aggression on people violently. That's not good. And that is a form of I don't even know if it would really be a full form of masculinity. It's a perversion of masculinity. Toxic masculinity, as I talked about earlier, it leads men to literally kill themselves if they think they can't talk about their emotions in such a way that is healthy. So I think that's actually really helpful to men in that regard.
I don't think so. I think, too, that just aggression in general, you said that like it's a bad thing. I actually think aggression can be a
I said
good
over-aggression. I think
Well-
there, in certain contexts, competitiveness, great, it's fine. But
Like
if you're
defending your family would require a
You said over-aggression, so meaning not towards your family, towards somebody else, nigga. Come on now. Get this through your head. Bro, you know what he means. Why is you...
man to be overly aggressive to protect
So,
their family.
first off,
we
I-
want our
Let's
soldiers.
let him
we-
finish.
yeah.
He said over-aggressive. That's like being aggressive towards a stranger, cool. That's invading your property, cool. We're not talking about that, bro.
We want our soldiers, we want people that are fighting in UFC to be overly aggressive. Those are things that we actually identify as good. And
No, you don't. You don't know what over-aggressive is. Over-aggressive is when the fight is over, bro is still throwing punches. That's what over-aggressive is. Aggressive regularly is what a regular UFC fighter is. Over-aggressive is when the match is over, bro is still trying to fight him. Bro's fighting the referee. Bro is fighting the announcer coming into the ring to congratulate him about his win. That's over-aggressive. That's what I see as over-aggressive. Over-aggressive is that. Aggressive is regular fighter protecting himself, fighting.
and even women show preference to it. But the question, going back to the question, is normalization of hatred for men more prevalent than for women? And I would say yes, overwhelmingly yes.
So where do you see the hatred of men primarily? I'm just curious.
Well, I see it in women's marches, and I see it in general
example.
conversation when women are like, "I don't need a man."
I don't need a man?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm curious. If a man were to say, I don't really need a woman, I'm happy living my life the way I am, I enjoy my career, I enjoy where I'm at, I'm just not really in a position where I need a woman. Would he be hating women by making that type of statement,
Do
making
they
such a
hate
sentiment?
women?
Yeah, would you say they hate women?
Well, that's not celebrated, though. That's not something that's...
No, but that's not what I said, though. I said,
Okay.
is that an example of hating women?
Is that an example of hating women?
Because you said an
No.
example of hating men is saying, I don't need a man.
Yeah, but they're doing it in a way to put down men. They're
How?
doing it because they view the patriarchal structure of society as being an inherently bad thing. Why?
So wait a second. Because I think a society in which is structured so that men have certain advantages over women unfairly is unfair to them. I don't think attacking patriarchy or the advantages that men get is in any way attacking them. There's a famous phrase that to the privilege, equality feels like oppression. Okay? So just because you are in a certain position and someone is saying, hey, I don't really think it's fair that you, for example, are taken more seriously in business meetings or have a better access to this certain education, or within schools, you're pushed towards more STEM fields. And me as a woman, I'm pushed to more humanities or caretaking fields. I don't think that, I don't see that as a hatred of men. So any other examples of misandry, happy to hear them from you, and I'll say why I don't really think they're that prevalent.
So even in a case like, let's look at the issue with Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively.
Yeah.
It
What
was
is this?
automatically assumed when that news broke that Baldoni was guilty. Everyone
Even with Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, right?
just assumed that in the very beginning, and as more evidence came out, it was looked at the opposite way. It's because we have a culture that teaches women essentially to be afraid of men, that we're a problem.
Wait, I thought that was a very, very balanced case. I mean, I don't...
In the very beginning, no, because the
Yes.
general media consensus, at least from my understanding,
You should have used a Johnny Depp case, because I haven't heard of this one, but the Johnny Depp case was worse. They were like, bro was losing job offers. Bro couldn't do his one Disney show or Disney movie. I don't remember the movie, but he was just getting like, he was just losing offers all over the place.
was in favor of Blake Lively, but as more evidence came out, they thought
And
otherwise.
here's my issue with this media perception, is on social media, we see the extremes amplified. We see the most extreme voices,
That
the
is
people
true.
who will say something, get a clip. I don't need men. Men are trash. Men should burn. Kill all men. But that is not actually prevalent. That is not something that exists outside of the realms of Twitter and the TikTok algorithm. Go up to your average woman on the street. Ask her, how do you feel about men? I'm sure that she would give you a ton of things that she loves about men, because there's so many women who date men, marry men, have men that they love in their lives. And that's the reality of people who exist in our society, not the fringe people on the internet. So
yeah, but there are a lot of women that are foregoing marriage, foregoing relationships, not having kids, all of these things because they're taught to be afraid of men.
Wait, are they taught to, what teaches them to be afraid of men?
Feminism?
No, 1 second. I don't think feminism. Is it possible that their life experiences with men teach them to be afraid of men? The fact that an overwhelming majority of women have experienced some form of sexual assault at the hands of a man or sexual harassment. Ask any woman in your life about a negative experience that she's had with a man. It'd be hard to find one who hasn't. Do you think that's possibly what makes
I want to
women
make
afraid?
sure we Oliver, I appreciate what you're saying. I just want to make sure we get more in from him before we start going for the middle ground.
Okay, yeah. I mean, anything you want to respond to?
There have been men that have been guilty of doing awful things toward women, but this mindset that I believe is taught is that all the men are guilty of doing this. That you can't trust any man. That you can't be alone with any man. It's very common that women say that they can't. They're afraid to walk down the streets. Somebody in the previous when I was having conversation said that. They had that analogy of the would you rather be alone with a man or a bear? And most women chose the grizzly bear that would rip them apart. That's crazy.
So wait a second. Now, granted, I am not a woman, so I don't understand the fear of walking down the street every night and feeling like I have a target on my back. So instead of looking at this and being like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. The women are insane. I'm not even gonna deal with them. When I saw that trend, I was like, wow. Like that is, imagine living your life in a state where you feel like you are at risk of your physical safety from 50% of the population. That must be awful, and we should look into the reasons why, what is it, like 97% of women have experienced some form of sexual harassment. You ask
7%. Which included anything from aggressive comments to violent assaults. Including, the only thing I'll say about this is that like this statement right here, like the fact check, is that what do you like? It's gonna sound weird, but how do you describe harassed, right? Because you could be like somebody's. You could be somebody's. Well, the way I'm saying it sounds weird. Like you could be somebody's type, say hi, and whatever, right? And you won't be being harassing the person. But if you're not somebody's type, you're like a little weird, right? And you say hi, that could be considered harass. So whenever I think about this, I'm like of course it included like anything from aggressive comments to violent assaults, right? Of course they said this, but like what do you consider harassed? I don't know. Because something is just like, it's that one, I don't know if it's a meme, but it's that one meme where it's like, ugly dude says hi, ill, harassment, leave me alone, blah, blah, blah. Pretty dude says hi, ooh, cutie, blah, blah, blah. It's that thing, right? So, I don't know.
Any woman, if she's had an unwanted encounter of a sexual romantic nature with a man, I guarantee the overwhelming majority will be able to tell you. It comes from romantic nature with a man, I guarantee.
Romantic encounter.
The overwhelming majority will be able to tell you. It comes from real life experience, not this amorphous threat of men. Men are real, and men can be very threatening because of many of the biological differences that I feel you would be very sympathetic to. Men are largely stronger. Men are largely larger. Men are largely, have a lot of that over women. So women, sometimes because of the physical nature are more vulnerable. It makes sense for them to be more wary of men. That's just a rational response.
Yeah, to the point where they would rather
your response, and then we're gonna go into
sure. But to the point where they would rather choose to be alone with a grizzly bear over a man in the woods. How many men does the average woman really believe that she would be safer?
It's kind of one of those things where it's like you say all men, but it's like really like maybe like 1% of men, but when you take into account how many men there are on the planet and how many women there are on the planet, it's like still a large number. Because they'll be like, there's 4 billion people on the planet, 2 billion are men, 2 billion are women. Maybe it's like 2.1 and then 1.97 or some shit like that, right? Billion people or men, women, right? And like 2 billion are men, and then it's like 1% or like 50, like 1% of that is creepy, and then it's like, of that 1%, that's really like 2 million. How many people do you really live by? Like maybe 1,000 at most. Like maybe if you go around the city, you'll see 1,000 people. Not 1,000 people, but like 5,000 people, right? And then in that 5,000, what's that 1%? It'll be like 500. And then how many are living in your area, very close to you? If you see like 50 people, that might be like 5 creepy people. I don't know. It's like one of those things, right? Where it's like, it's a small percentage, but because there's so many people, it's just a larger thing.
alone with a grizzly bear that is trained to rip them
Sure.
apart than a man. It doesn't make any sense to me.
First off,
because men show up too and to defend women.
Of course,
Okay,
men
so I
have
got-
fought for women's rights. I mean, fought
We've
for
also
this
been the ones
country.
fighting against them.
Yeah.
Okay, so I
primarily
want to
too,
stop.
so-
I want to stop you guys here.
Yeah.
Plenty of disagreement, but
This one's
it's
fun.
time to start throwing.
I want to hear more examples of misandry. I still don't know what it is, so I want to know.
Well, I think we're out of time.
It's a hatred of men.
We can keep exploring your disagreements as we start proposing where there's a middle ground.
I think too.
Let's work to
And so let's hear from
just
you
just look
first.
at our education system, all right? So a lot of young boys are slapped with ADHD diagnoses. We're taught that just the nature of us being who we
11.4 U.S. children aged 3 to 17 have been diagnosed with ADHD. Boys 15% or more likely to be diagnosed than girls 8%. Why?
are, just being a little bit rambunctious or having high energy is like a bad thing. So instead of treating that, instead of dealing with that, or instead of restructuring our education system to accommodate men, they don't. They slap pills on you.
About 30% of children with ADHD did not receive medical treatment or behavioral treatment compared to 23% children to the 17 of age with ADHD in about 2016. About 32% of children with ADHD receive both medical treatment and behavioral treatment.
Young boys, get them hopped up on ADHD medication and don't actually let them get their aggression out or their energy out in healthy ways.
And you think it's because they hate men?
Yeah, I do. I
don't think it's
do in part.
I don't
yeah.
think it's because they hate men. I think it's because the big pharma wants to sell you pills instead of the solution to the problem, and I think that transcends gender. And they
Okay.
do it to both individuals. I don't like this. Doesn't seem like a gender-specific issue, right?
Okay, so
It is
both
a
of you,
gender-perspective
it's
issue,
time to
though, 'cause it
start offering a
overwhelmingly
statement
affects
that you
men.
think you can both
Disparate
agree
impact
on.
is really interesting that he agrees with that.
What's a statement you think you can both agree on?
I have one.
Yeah.
Hating anyone for genuinely hating them because of their sex or their gender is just wrong. You
Yeah.
shouldn't do it. If someone genuinely hates men or genuinely hates women, that's not good. We should not promote people hating people based on any immutable characteristic. And sex is included within there. Yeah, okay. I don't think I can find middle ground on this because misogyny literally kills women, and
Once again, he's going with the extreme of one side, and then he's going to go with the it just hurts feelings of men when it could be extreme of both sides, bro. Like, you don't go like misandry, right? Misogyny, right? Is like hate of women, right? You don't like. How do I say this? Like, he went extreme on that, but then didn't go extreme on the other side. He didn't go like middle ground where, oh, I just hate all men. I want nothing to do with men. That's like the middle ground of that. Or I just hate all women. I don't want to do anything with women. I just keep my distance from women. That's the middle ground of that. But he went straight for to kill women. And then the other one is like, oh, they just hurt their feelings. When it could be extremes on both sides. That's the only part of his argument I don't like.
misandry.
I mean, that statement in itself,
Are you
us,
kidding
our
me?
very presence.
No.
misogyny
You
actually
misunderstood me. You misunderstood me.
Okay,
The
explain.
hatred of women kills women.
Yes.
Would you disagree with that?
The hatred of, I mean, yeah, hatred could lead to killing
So the
somebody else,
definition
yeah.
of misogyny is the hatred of women.
Yeah.
So the misogyny
Yeah.
kills women.
Yeah.
That's
so
what
you
I
could
just
say the
said.
same thing. The hatred of men, teaching them who they are as being toxic, could lead to them ending their own lives.
Okay, so because
Or being killed.
some
Because
men
society
no,
doesn't
because
want-
because
yeah.
some men might have a misunderstanding of what misandry is and they might kill themselves, then that's
No, it's both sides, bro. Anybody could kill anybody, bro. A woman could kill a man, and a man could kill a woman, bro. It goes both ways.
the same thing as men killing women because
Or
they hate
being
them.
unjustly.
Yo, bro, just say the words, or a woman could kill a man. Nigga, there's weapons out in the world. There's weapons. There's shit called guns that shoot niggas from like meters away and they die. You're acting like it doesn't go the other way, bro.
Locked up for rape accusations.
And how often
because
does-
automatically it's deferred that the
This
woman
dude is
is,
so
is
bad at
innocent, she's not
arguing.
guilty, and the man is guilty.
What about Johnny Depp? Did that happen in that case?
That
What
was-
about in Chris Brown? Did that happen in that case?
He lost a lot,
Chris
though.
Brown.
What about in
Johnny
Donald
Depp.
Trump? Did that happen in that case?
Well, bro, that as a president that some people voted for, so...
What happened to Brett Kavanaugh?
Who's
Brett
that?
Kavanaugh was demonized.
What? Yeah, he was.
He was
And where
dragged
is he
through.
right now?
Yeah, because,
Where is he right now?
because it
Tell me
failed.
where he is. Where is he right now?
He's sitting on the Supreme Court.
Thank you.
Okay, what do you want to propose as? What's a statement you want to propose that you think you can both agree on?
Let me see. Is misandry more allowed than misogyny. As a society, misogyny is more allowed online, or you're able to say it a lot easier without repercussions, as you saying you hate women, right? So you would probably have more repercussions if you're a misogynist than if you're a misandry, right? Like, say women hates men. You're more allowed to hate men than you are allowed to hate women, I feel. I don't know.
I don't think that.
Well, that's our middle ground. We can't find any middle ground on this, I don't really think.
Yeah.
Let's
I
just
think
give it another sec.
I think hating men is wrong.
misandry is normal. It's very normalized to the point where we don't even
But
realize
you
it.
can't give me an example of it. That's what I'm
I gave
wondering.
you a bunch of examples.
But the examples you gave me were women trying to live their lives of their own autonomy and accord, which is saying, I don't need a man, which is fine. I don't see what world you view that as hatred.
He shouldn't have said that. That was a bad example. But he's not a good debater or whatever. He should have been like all the marches that say you just hate men, like all the negativity around it. I don't know.
Unless you think you're entitled to women.
Yeah, but
That's the only way I interpret that as a hatred of man. I'm being as charitable as I literally possibly can.
I gave you the ADHD example of schools being structured toward that.
It's structured towards that, but the issue is you can't just say that an issue affects men, and therefore it's because we hate men.
I've literally heard women say, I hate men.
Of course,
Literally.
absolutely. And
Death to the patriarchy,
Of course.
all these things.
Wait a
I've heard
second.
that.
Death to the patriarchy means death to the societal structures in which give men more societal power than women for no reason. That's not the hatred of men unless you think men ought to have that power because they are men. That is the only way you interpret it that way. So all I'm showing here is a lot of these ideas of what you think misandry is are just your misogynistic instincts and assumptions being exposed.
Yeah, so now you're assuming that I'm misogynistic.
I'm not
because
assuming.
Yeah, you are.
I'm not assuming. That was not an assumption. I gave you a very clearly
You're
rhetorical
demonstrating
path.
it right now.
Really?
Yeah.
Really, I hate men.
What
yeah.
is he demonstrating?
Dismissive of men.
Dismissive?
Showing
Hey, let
this
him
general
talk.
sentiment
Let him
of
talk.
animosity toward men. He's showing it.
How?
You just did it.
So I said that you have a disdain towards women because you view breaking down societal structures that benefit men
You call
as
me
hating men.
misogynistic.
Because that's
Do you
literally
think,
the
do you think he's
definition.
misogynistic?
Yeah, probably. I think we all are a little bit, some more than others. Yeah.
I don't think we're gonna get.
Now, granted,
to a
I want
middle
to point
ground.
something out. I don't think I'm free of misogyny either. So this is not to say that you are a terrible individual or that I am a terrible individual. I've done a lot of learning to unlearn a lot of these ideas that, frankly, I've been instilled with throughout my entire life.
Yeah,
So,
but I want to encourage you. Just for, I'm sensing there's a lot of energy coming from your side.
Swing on him. I'm dead. But like, bro, it's cause this dude doesn't know how to debate, bro. You dumb bitch. Like, bro is using an extreme of one side, and then he's like, misandry could cause men to kill themselves. No, nigga, misandry could cause men to get killed if the woman wants to kill a man because she hates men. Same shit with the other way, bro. Come on, use your brain. Oh my god. Whatever, bro.
And so I do want to give you an opportunity to, expand on what you just said. You feel like he's coming from a misogynistic place, but you say you might be coming from one.
absolutely.
If you were to lower your temperature a few degrees and
Sure.
expand on that in a way that he might understand.
We're two men debating women's issues, so there's only so much of a perspective that I can provide here. And this is not, I realize that I have not taken the most charitable approach in this conversation, and I apologize for that. I do not think you're a bad person. I do not think you actively hate women. I think misogyny can linger in so many ways that we don't even realize. Even when you hear, this just happened last week with me. Someone was like, oh yeah, Dr. Berg moved to another institution. I said, oh, where do you
What
go?
was that?
That's an example of it. I assumed that Dr. Berg was a man. Dr. Berg was, in fact, a very qualified epidemiologist. That's the type of underlying misogyny.
I mean, that's just the last name, though. How is that misogyny, though? Hold on, bro. We need to go back to the definition of misogyny. That's, hatred, dislike, or mistrust of men. Hatred, dislike, or mistrust of women. I don't feel like assuming a gender or where they went is misogynistic, though. I mean, maybe because I guess he's saying because the person is a doctor, but then he also said that that STEM is more for men, and other stuff is more for women, right? He said that, or was that somebody else?
That many of us have.
I mean, isn't that just a misunderstanding?
It's not because hold on. It's not because your assumption is doctor is associated with man. That's your first assumption. When women can be doctors too. Why doesn't the assumption go to women being doctors? Why?
My first thought went to where did they go? Nah, I didn't pick a gender. I just said where did they go.
Why isn't it?
Because I guess we grow up where a lot of people just assume that men are doctors. I don't know that.
Because more men are doctors.
Maybe that
because they've been
person's
given.
dad was a doctor, so he just had it in his mind that his dad's a doctor. So yeah.
Okay.
Sure. Yeah.
It's okay if we can't get to a middle ground, but just one last chance.
Yeah.
At least offer a statement that you think both sides can agree with.
Yeah, I obviously believe that there's, misogyny. I believe that. I believe there's misandry. I believe these things happen. But I think at a societal level, we do see more of it negatively toward men, not women. Show me, I guess, give me.
I would say not more towards, but like you're seeing maybe misandry is more new, right? So it just started, right? It's like 5-10 years, right? Which isn't new, but like this could be going on for like hundreds of years, whatever. And this is like just starting. So because it just started, you've seen it a lot more, which goes with the question, is it more allowed? Now it is becoming more allowed to say that you hate men over that you hate women.
Examples of where you think this is happening more predominantly against women than men.
Against women? The fact that women are denied the ability to receive certain types of education. In the sense of within schooling, they are often intentionally pushed.
Schools
towards certain careers.
for women.
Wait,
I'm
no,
sorry,
no,
guys.
no, no,
Just
no,
for
fine.
time, we're gonna have to end this one, but let's at least shake hands. And it was a good try. Thank you, guys.
No ill will, even on camera. Okay.
No, it's just not a good debater. No, cannot debate.
All right, moving into our next prompt.
Oh, there's one more?
Is Elon Musk a good masculine role model? Sounds like there might be some divide.
Yeah.
Come forward and find your speaker.
See, bro, I was with the nigga until you went for that other nigga, and I'm like, nah, I don't fuck with that nigga.
No, he's not a good role model on this side.
I don't even know the guy.
Okay, yeah. He has a bunch of baby mamas, which is not very traditional or like good for like how family household.
I believe he has a great mind and he's contributed a lot to society with SpaceX and all the other things. But again, I have no idea about who he is as a person. So I don't know if he's a good man or not.
We're no different than them when we just say, oh, well, he makes money, right? So does Andrew Tate. I don't think we would agree that Andrew Tate is a in-the-house father figure that's morally guiding his children, right?
It's unlikely that anyone in this room knows more about the damage that Elon is doing to our government than I do. It's also unlikely that someone in this room knows more about Elon's history than I do. This is something I have a lot of mastery in, and I would absolutely love to destroy on this topic. My qualifications, I'm a political analyst, and I was an advisor to a presidential campaign. I am deeply involved in politics and governance.
All in favor of Ryan?
Yeah.
All right.
No pressure. First unanimous vote.
Is he possibly somebody that America maybe would need in order to go in a certain direction that the president is deciding to go in? Sure. But in terms of like a human being perspective, like first of all, like he's a Dutch South African. They hands down supported apartheid. Like I've been trading Tesla stock for years, dude. It's freaking great. But now I stopped trading it just based off the fact of where he stands politically.
There's nothing masculine about abandoning your kids. There just isn't.
I feel like we're all generally in the no column for varying reasons. Obviously, he's a great business mind. I would love to just completely just like fight it down and just say, listen, he's a great person that has accomplished many great things, but he is off his rocker right now, and he's never been fully on his rocker, and he's not an ideal of what the average American man should be striving to be. Me.
1, 2, 3. The groups have chosen their speakers. Napoon, you're coming on up. And Ryan. Let's see where this goes. Is Elon Musk a good masculine role model? What do you guys think?
I don't believe that anyone is evil, and I believe everyone has virtues. I think Elon's a really complicated, problematic, and potentially broken person, and I think he gets exalted because his successes are obvious. But his failures aren't as covered. And I think, but more than that, I think when you're looking for a male role model who is successful, there's so many people out there who don't have such an open track record for, casually having children everywhere and rejecting his child for something that they can't control. And it's hard for me to see how he would be in the top 1,000 of anybody's list.
Okay. So the consensus of our group, which I'm here to represent, is that hell no.
We don't think that.
Yeah, we don't think he is a proper role model for varying reasons. Obviously, successful businessman, brilliant mind. The man can catch a goddamn rocket. So obviously he's great. But at the same time, he's with Trump right now. 2008, Tesla was popping up with Obama everywhere. He's moving left and right. He's not standing on a singular value that we can actually hold him to, except, I guess, the value of money.
Yeah.
And success and business development. So based on that and the fact that he lacks a demonstration of family values, we don't think he's a role model for the everyman.
Okay, so let's cut to the crap here. Let's get a middle ground statement on why you think he's not a good masculine role model.
Well, there's a lot.
Side note, I did not step in front of the Tesla that might hit me later.
I did. I think it could be as simple as he's not a good role model.
So I would say that Elon Musk, albeit a great man that will be remembered in history for significant accomplishments in business and science, does not represent a proper masculine role model, as he has put himself in an imbalanced way to achieve those successes, and he does not demonstrate the spirituality, the family values, or the social values to be a good role model.
I think the thing that sticks out to me that I can't agree with is that he'll be remembered as a great man. I think he'll be remembered, and I think he'll be remembered as at least somewhat successful and impactful, but I think he'll be remembered as a mixed bag, as a human.
History is written by the victors, so we can't really decide how he's going to be written.
Yeah, that's my guess.
Yeah. He's a bad masculine role model because he's an imbalanced person focused entirely on business and his scientific advances for his businesses, and rather than a family and a general sense of growth for society, semi-acknowledging what he's done in the most recent election.
I wouldn't say that those are the reasons why.
Okay.
What makes him problematic transcends any one of those things and incorporates them all. I think
his use of Roman salutes.
That's not great.
Yeah.
But I think also, if we're talking about family values, I'm not sure he has values. There are some people who just, they're not immoral or moral; they're amoral. They kind of exist in this weird third orb of existence, and he might be one of those people. He may not have morals, period, I guess is what I'm saying.
Well, lack of morals is also a form of immorality, I would say.
Yeah, but there's being immoral and then there's not having access to it. By definition, people who are clinically narcissistic, those are amoral people. Their brain can't do good or bad that way. They're not inherently bad because they're not doing good or thinking good or saying good. They don't have access to what we would consider good. It's just not available to them at all.
Well, I'm not a doctor, so I'm not going to try and suggest that he has one way or the other. I just know that from the perspective of what we can see on the outside, obviously his $100 billion industry and his $100 billion life that we see only 1% of. One person brought up that his family was Dutch, white, in South Africa, so they have a problematic history with apartheid there, and a whole slew of other things. The point is, what we see in front of us, the man presented in front of us, is not someone that anyone sits and goes, yeah, that's a Chad. I want my kid to grow up like that. Maybe in business, for sure. Yeah. Maybe in science, for sure. Yeah. But other than that, it's not someone that you think about and you look as a well-balanced person that you want to be.
Yeah, I can certainly agree that he's not well-balanced, for sure.
Yeah. Elon Musk is not a good masculine role model because masculinity gives value to someone. Because...
Let's just leave it at that. Elon Musk is not a good role model.
Yeah, great. I love that it was really that easy.
Sounds
Elon
good.
Musk is not a good role model.
All right, let's fight about something else.
That concludes part 1 of this Middle Ground XL. We're going to revisit those middle ground statements that we found in the debates in part 2, and we're going to give all of these men the opportunity to say whether or not they agree with those statements. If you agree that Elon Musk is not a good role model, come to the middle. If you think he is, stay seated.
There's nothing you can tell me that's saying that Elon Musk is not a leader.
I think porn, like, there is a good release. Bro, if I'm not nutting, you know, it could get crazy, bro. Who knows?
That is a bullshit reason to make a mandate for other people. You guys have got to stop discrediting our points just because your faith backs you up.
Mr. Judgmental over here just shit to my, because listen, y'all can laugh all you want. You ain't got no game like I have. Laugh all you want.
You're never going to win me over on this idea that relationships should fundamentally be structured by one person leading another.
A man's job is to create order. A woman's job is to create the universe.
So if you no longer fully identify as a progressive man or as a traditional man, and you see yourself more as a moderate, move to the center now.
I'm dead. Very good episode. Hey, yo.
I've literally...
I'll still say what other rules, because not all rules are like scary. So my toy, my rules, my property. I don't know about that. Follow lead, not rules. Very different. Stop and well, basically wearing leggings is crazy. I mean, he just tied up his hair though. That's just, I was tying up your hair, a feminine thing. Nobody considers long hair feminine. What? Okay then. Female version. Taking a shot every time the first chat dude says that's I'm dead. I mean, was it considered that? I don't know. That was funny, bro. That is funny. Everybody, I heard like, what? I seen some faces. That was hilarious. Why do we say my son, my wife, my husband? Because we all belong to each other and claim ownership of each other. The only difference in men lead and does have much authority and familiar dynamics. A family isn't democratic. We don't have equal say. For example, my kids understand permission from daddy is different from permission from mommy. Okay. Immediately disagreed with that. I consider myself traditional and I disagree with the dude. Don't have an issue with a leader follower dynamic between a married couple, but was something about the way the guy was off. Master slave dynamic instead of leader follower dynamic. That's likely divorce does not equate to healthy, stable, and safe marriage and home. Girl boss and try to wives. Yeah. Because like this is like really like, I mean, this is like talking about the past, right? And then girl boss is like kind of negative right now, at least. there's just a bunch of negative stuff about it. So that's why I wanted, like, if they changed it to like something else, right, then it wouldn't be so bad. But yeah, like, subscribe. See you guys later. Hope you have a good day or night, and bye. I don't know if I'm uploading this today. I don't know when I'm uploading any of these videos that I've did, but yeah, see y'all.